Hey everyone, my name is Brian Seaver, son of Cassie Parton, and I'm representing the Parton and Owens family today, announcing the passing of my Aunt Dolly Rebecca Parton Dean, sister, sis, Aunt Granny to one generation and Gigi to the next. This video announcement is something Dolly asked of me years ago, before I fully absorbed it as a future reality. As her head of security for more than 2 decades, a role my father Larry held before me, I have imagined the heaviness of this moment, but haven't truly felt it until now. It is an honor that is mixed with absolute pride and great sadness. But sadness lies with us, not with Dolly. Dolly has lived in the light and is in the arms of Jesus, surely met by Carl, her parents, and countless others who have watched her and longed for her to meet them in the heavens. I first went on the road with Dolly as a kid, getting a taste of the road life in the early 1980s. Dolly opened doors not just for me, but for her entire family to reach the potential we didn't even know was possible. Dolly also opened doors for generations of singers, songwriters, musicians, and dreamers from every walk of life and across every continent. By her example, we believed that anything was possible. She never saw a door she couldn't open, and the doors she opened made and changed history. My family and I have shared a lifetime of beautiful memories with Dolly, but so have you. She has always been on your television, your record player, your CD, and on your phone playlist, becoming an extended part of your family whether you liked it or not. Our family and the team she has entrusted with her legacy will work diligently to ensure her spirit will live with us forever. Dolly was a farmer, just like her daddy. He farmed the soil, she farmed songs and happiness. Dolly called me and said she wants to rest in a beautiful bed of plush cotton because after a life wearing heavy rhinestones, she finally deserves to be comfortable and have some rest. Rest in peace, Aunt Dolly, Aunt Granny, Gigi. May God bless Dolly Parton, and may God bless you all. She will always love you.
I thought that was a very nice way to start the show. If you haven't heard, it's all over the news. It's been running 24/7. Well, not 24/7, but Dolly Parton has passed away at age 80. One of the things that I just wanted to say, because I never had the opportunity to work with her, but I knew many, many, many people who did have the opportunity to work with her, and nobody, I mean, literally, you hear stories about people on the road and stuff, and some people don't like somebody, and some people do like somebody, or this guy's a tool. Nobody had anything negative to say about her. And then the other thing is that my wife, Robin, she comes from the Smoky Mountains area, and you can't even go in. I mean, she's almost like royalty. Dolly Parton was basically royalty in the Smoky Mountains up in the Blue Ridge, all through the hills of Carolina and Tennessee. So a lot of family members feeling bad, a lot of fans feeling bad. And I just wanted to take a couple seconds at the beginning of the show and acknowledge a legendary career, 70 plus years, I believe. They said she had something like 20 #1 hits. Generational talent, can't be replaced. All the big accolades you want to put on somebody, you need to put them on Dolly Parton. But in any event, as different things are showing there in the background, just want to take a minute. And if you're a fan, put on a Dolly Parton record. I would love to play some songs, but the big brothers here at YouTube would have a huge, huge problem if I were to play some Dolly Parton songs, which sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. But in any event, rest in peace, Dolly, and let's get on with the news.
We start with breaking news in our Law and Justice lead. The U.S. Supreme Court just granted President Donald Trump's request for permission to implement his executive order overhauling and restricting mail-in ballot system. But additional legal challenges could stand in the way of this plan before the November midterm elections. Still, this ruling brings new uncertainty about voting rules for the midterms because it keeps alive the possibility that Trump will impose policies outlined in the order that gave the U.S. Postal Service and the Department of Homeland Security unprecedented roles in the running of elections. The president used primetime real estate in giving a speech talking about election insecurity here just a few weeks ago. Now this ruling from the Supreme Court How do you feel about
Well,
this?
it's not an issue just because Trump is talking about it. Democrats spent the entire first term of the Trump presidency convincing people that Russia interfered in our election and somehow it wasn't unsafe. Poll after poll after poll over the last 8 years have shown that Americans, by and large, even bipartisan Americans, feel that elections aren't as secure as they need to be. And no, you can't say that every mail-in ballot or every paper ballot is a fraudulent ballot. That's not true. But almost every time where you find validated cases of fraud, you are seeing it being done through some sort of paper ballot. So this is an issue that Trump has taken up. He campaigned on it, and he vowed to do it, and now we're seeing some of the fruits of that.
Trump votes by mail.
There's no question to that. Look, and again, this is not to
And he admits to it.
This is not to eliminate all paper ballots. This is to make it more secure.
But the other thing is, too, there hasn't been any statistics that actually have shown, like...
Census Bureau came out this week saying that 24,000 non-citizens voted in American elections in 2020. So and that's the Census Bureau. That's not a Republican or right-wing, not exactly known to be a conservative organization. This is the Census Bureau saying 24,000 non-citizens voted in 2020.
Okay, Joe, just stick with me because I want to ask you something that we saw there for a moment. 3 years ago, President Trump flew to Fulton County, Georgia, and became the first U.S. president with a mugshot. There you see it right there. The official Republican account on X posted, quote, "They did everything they could to stop him, and they failed." Now, while the official account for Trump's political operation posted, "Let this be a lesson to every American. When your back is against the wall and life gets rough, you must never surrender." Is that something the Republican Party should be celebrating?
This was supposed to save Donald Trump. Instead, it resurrected him. If you think about where we were when this happened, Trump was not winning in any poll, right? You had this thing come out. It was supposed to be humiliating, and it ended up serving as a rallying cry for a lot of Republicans. Now you combine that with what we just heard from Michael Cohen, with the J6 case against Trump collapsing, with the Manhattan document case collapsing. It gives a lot of runway to what Republicans and what Trump has made the case of, that there's lawfare against him. That's what that picture symbolizes, and that's what led him to win re-election.
Chris, I see.
Let's move to the Supreme Court. Sean, you can. So if you're not going to call them restrictions, what are you going to call it? What do you call it?
What are you talking about? It's voter
the
integrity.
Court,
I mean,
mail-in voting restrictions. You take issue.
It's not when you're basically saying you have to ensure that only people that are citizens and eligible to vote can be mailed a ballot. That's not restricting voting. Who are you restricting vote? I'll flip the question. Who are you restricting from voting?
You're restricting mail-in voting. You could say they're restricting what you believe are to be illegal mail-in voting.
No, then you're not. That's not a restriction.
Okay,
a restriction is preventing somebody from doing something. You're stopping illegal people from voting. You're ensuring voter integrity. But when you're just ensuring that you actually have to prove that the person is a citizen and eligible to vote, that's not a restriction.
Dan, do you call this a restriction?
Sure. I mean, every state determines.
I was going to say, I don't even know what
every state makes those determinations.
Yeah. Okay, so can I just play this up for 1 second?
So, system of government. All
right, hold on. Time. If right now they say 16-year-olds cannot go vote, is that restricting people from voting? So right now, the White House said
it's setting the parameters to vote, right? But Sean, every state determines what are their criteria to vote.
No, that's not true. The Constitution lays out the age to vote. That is so you have to be 18.
And you have to be legal, or like you have to be a
correct. And that's the thing, Sean. So then how I as a state set the parameters to have my election is up again.
Okay, Dan, hold on. Time out. No one's telling the state how to hold their election. They can hold it. If they want to use a tool of the federal government, i.e. the U.S. Postal Service, now you've invoked the federal government's assets to do something.
And that, boys and girls, is the exact point that you need to remember. That last 5 seconds tells you everything. When they say the states are in control, the states can run their elections, the states have the power by the Constitution to oversee elections, nobody's talking about that last little piece. That last little piece is you, California, you, New York City, or actually the whole state, you, Illinois, you decided in order for you to get the result that you want, you're going to use a tool of the federal government. You did that. Trump didn't do it. I didn't do it. You didn't do it. Those states did. The one mistake that they've made in the entire grand scale of things is not realizing that they control everything except federal property. You can't even go to a mailbox and reach in it and try to get what you already dropped in it. It's done. Once it's in that mailbox, that is federal property. And nobody's talking about that. Everybody's screaming about mail-in ballots being restricted. No, you restricted it. As soon as you decided you're going to use a United States Postal Service mailbox, the carriers, the trucks, to move these things back and forth, you brought the federal government to your doorstep. Unfortunately, there's no other way to do it. And so now you're in a catch-22. You don't want President Trump meddling in your elections where you can do some nefarious things, but at the same time, you need the federal government's equipment to do what you need. There are no California post boxes. There are no California mailmen or mailwomen. They're all federal. And so now they've dropped their drawers in the street and realizing, oh my gosh, how did we get here? Well, you got here because President Trump and his brain trust, whoever he was working with, realized this is where we go with this. And all of your lower courts kept fighting. Oh, you said this. And now they're getting the same response that we, MAGA, got when we tried to get to the bottom of 2020. Remember, all the courts kept saying, they didn't say that Biden won. They kept saying, you have no standing to sue. You don't have any grounds. Now, the same way, you don't have any grounds. You chose to use the United States Postal Service. Not my problem. The Postal Service is going to, make a rule in terms of how they recover the mail-in ballots. That one guy, which is another argument everybody keeps saying on the left, well, there's no real evidence of voter problems. Why do we need all this stuff to happen if there's no evidence? Well, why do you buy car insurance? Instead, obviously it's mandated, but people who are responsible, you buy car insurance just in case somebody hits you. Why do you take the keys out of your car at night? Well, somebody might steal it. Have you had a car stolen before? Many people have, but if you haven't, then why are you worried about it? Leave the keys on the hood, walk in the house. Why do you lock your doors at night? Most of us at one point never had to, but we grew up and realized we need to lock the doors and the windows. Has anyone ever climbed in your window? Has anyone ever kicked in your door? Maybe not, but you still lock it. So that's out the window. So if now everything is being exposed and they got the Supreme Court involved and they're losing. It's not done. I'm not going to jump to conclusions. This is not over, but it's huge. It is a huge, somewhat favorable victory for President Trump. Trump won. He got it 6-3, which is why they always want to overturn everything. A lower court judge had put an injunction on President Trump's executive order. The Supreme Court said, no, move that. You can't put an injunction on something that hasn't happened yet. See, that goes back to 2020. You couldn't stop it because it hadn't happened. And then by the time it happens, you can't do anything about it. So right now we're back into 2020 land and it's on the Democrats' problem and they're realizing it right now. They are absolutely freaking. They got Judge Indira, what the hell is her name? Talawani, an Obama appointee. She blocked Trump's order. And you might be thinking to yourself, what order? The March executive order that President Trump, March, 5 months ago. The order that said the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, makes the list, checks it twice, and they check to see who's a state or a United States citizen. A list that we get to check. Everyone 18 plus, U.S. citizens only. Those are the only people who should be eligible to vote in any way, shape, or form, mail-in or otherwise. No ballots get sent to or are going to be received from anyone not on the list. Makes sense. Very, very much makes sense. All the basic eligibility checks, check, check, check. Over 18, United States citizen, live here. But now you got the left freaking out. Newsom is saying, oh my God, it's Orwellian. What the hell is Orwellian? There are laws, there are rules. And it was okay when you had the judge try to throw Trump's order out. But now you're seeing what may be Armageddon for the Democrats. And it's not done. There'll be more lawsuits. We turned into a country governed by judges instead of by politicians. Our politicians are freaking useless. Let's just wipe the slate clean. Congress, Senate, useless. And so we're having to do this by executive order. Unfortunately, Pritzker, he freaked out. He called it interference. Oh, democracy. They hate verification. They hate it. These same people who years have screamed to protect democracy no longer care about protecting democracy. It's about protecting Democrats. And they're losing their minds over who gets ballot priorities. This should be pretty simple. Morning Joe, all of them, they just keep screaming about democracy. When it's pretty cut and dry how this process is going to play out. President Trump already went to court to try and get the second one thrown out, and more than likely it's going to get thrown out because the same people he went to before and the same judge, Talawani, the Supreme Court just threw out that one. Let me show you a couple things. From yesterday, huge breaking, SCOTUS grants stay of injunction in Massachusetts on new postal regulation mail-in ballots. 2 injunctions issued by Judge Talawani. She did it twice. Twice she decided she's going to get into the fray. Will dramatically impact how states can use the mail for voting. Final rule will be published tomorrow. So here's what's going to happen. As you can see, the final rule will be published tomorrow on Wednesday. No sooner will that thing hit the docket with the ink still kind of wet, they will be running to court to sue. They have to. They realize at this point they are in deep trouble. It says expect multiple lawsuits on Thursday. No, forget Thursday. They're already written. They just can't wait to just run to the court. By Wednesday at noon, this stuff will be up there. And Friday, challenging the final rule, but there is a very good argument the proper venue for such challenges is the Postal Regulatory Commission and not the courts. See, there's going to be a fight before the fight. Basis of SCOTUS ruling may be a lack of standing by the plaintiffs since no final rule had been paused when they sued. So that's a big one. Let me just explain to you. President Trump did an executive order. He said he wanted the Postal Service to come up with a rule. They ran and started filing injunctions before the rule was ever published. Talawani issued her injunction before there was any rule to enjoin. And so the courts were pretty much looking around going, you guys got a rule? Nope. You got one? Nope. But what the hell did you enjoin? You enjoined their ability to make a rule, which you can't do. In March, it took this long to get to where it is now. So now the games begin tomorrow. The rule will actually be published. And at that point, the rule will determine what the Democrats can do. But the monkey wrench or the monkey in the wrench here is it could be a Postal Regulatory Commission and the venue may not be district court. If they rule that the courts don't have any jurisdiction, I know we're getting in the weeds here, then it's the Postal Service that will determine what the rule is. And then they'll sue again. It's absolutely crazy how this is going to come out. I hope you guys all understand. There is no final rule, so the filing complaints now would be viewed differently. Maybe spaces, he's going to hold the spaces. So you've got lawyers out there They're like, we're in uncharted territory once again with these people. They don't know what to do, but they have to stop it, which tells you a lot. Why are you so pissed off about having to verify people who get to vote? Well, you and I both know the reason. There's no secret. There's no mystery. In fact, it's becoming more and more transparent by the day. They know they can't win without being able to stuff the ballots. And now they're looking at their entire livelihood as Democrats go up in smoke. None of these primaries will mean jack poop if they don't get their ability to harvest and do whatever they need to do with mail-in votes. Somehow we were able to do fine without mail-in voting or very limited mail-in voting until, 2003? 23, rather? Nobody had a problem. The only people who voted by mail were absentees, soldiers, people who were sick. It wasn't a veritable free-for-all where everybody gets to vote by mail. The Democrats knew the entire time, if we can get this through COVID and make this the rule, we're done. We got these people. They're never going to be able to overcome this. And then Trump comes in and he takes a ton of their electorate away by making sure the illegals get deported. And now whatever's left is going to be in this tranche of mail-in ballots that they now are fighting to the death to make sure they can continue to stuff it. So this is where we are and where we aren't. It doesn't mean that it's home free. It just means now that there's another hurdle, not for Trump to get over, another hurdle for the Democrats to get over. Tomorrow the rule will be published. Right after the rule is published, they will sue again, and then there will be counter lawsuits, and those counter lawsuits are going to see who gets the venue. Is the post office regulatory commission, or is it going to go to a district court judge? If it goes to a district court judge, immediately they're going to try and strike it down. And immediately, no matter which party wins or loses, they will run to the Supreme Court. The problem with all of this is that it's August 25th. If this thing gets delayed or the court just says, nope, you can't do it, the Democrats are absolutely toast. I mean, toast. And they're doing this all over the place. This guy decided today, another district court judge, another lower level judge, decided today he was going to tell you can't do what's going on in Ohio. District Court Judge Solomon Oliver issued a preliminary injunction against House Bill 54, which required documentary proof of citizenship for voter registration at Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicle Offices. The ruling, a win for groups like Red, Wine, and Blue and the Ohio Alliance for Retired American, holds that a signed attestation, meaning just affirming it, meets the federal standards under the National Voter Registration Act, avoiding stricter barriers than other methods. Nearly 30% of Ohioans register through the BMV, making this access point vital in their battleground state, though the order preserves the lawsuit's path forward. That's the part to remember. It's still going on. It preserves the ability of both parties to continue fighting in court. So all we have now is just court battle after court battle after court battle. Everybody's fighting in court. And it's August 25th. So it's getting very close. It's getting to be sweaty palms time for the Democrats. So let me let you listen to a couple of things.
This is a featured presentation from the Fanfare Newsroom.
Part of his plan to restrict mail-in voting, at least for now. So this was a 6-3 vote in favor of this, a major win for President Trump. It lifts a lower court block that prevented the administration from implementing key parts of Trump's March executive order, which called for the federal government to create lists of voters eligible to receive federal ballots. It requires states to provide information so the Postal Service can verify that voters on those lists are eligible. The administration argues that the goal is is to protect election integrity and prevent ballots from going to people who are not eligible. But Democratic officials in 23 states and D.C. sued to block the order. They argue that the president is overstepping his authority and the Constitution gives states the primary role in administering elections. They say this fight is far from over. So California Governor Gavin Newsom reacted saying, quote, California will be suing again to block these Orwellian rules from being implemented. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker responded, quote, the Supreme Court's decision allowing Donald Trump and the U.S. Postal Service to move forward with this unprecedented attempt to interfere in our elections.
Unprecedented attempt to interfere in the elections. So when you're seeing all of the big Democrats at this point, Pritzker and Newsom, they're all coming together now. That should show you something, how big a deal this actually is
deeply troubling. And New York Governor Kathy Hochul stated New York challenged this unlawful executive order from the very beginning, and we will continue the fight.
You understand when you see this stuff, this is all propaganda. A lot of people, the noobs, the doomers, they don't realize everything she's saying right there is complete hogwash. In fact, just the opposite. If the Supreme Court just said he can do it, then how can you possibly say it's unlawful executive order? The stupid people hear what she says. Oh, Trump can't do that. Well, somebody just said he could. Obviously, the Supreme Court knows more than she does, but they use this language to try and bamboozle people who are reading it. It's unlawful. We'll keep fighting. Everything is a fight with these people.
The Supreme Court did not rule that Trump's executive order is legal. Justices instead ruled that the states who sued did not have the legal right to challenge it. And with
all right, so that again, that's what I was trying to tell you. The fight isn't over. He didn't win. Trump didn't win. MAGA didn't win. They just said the lawsuit as currently filed has no standing. You're not allowed to sue on something that hasn't occurred. I don't know how they botched that. Because realize what happened here. President Trump puts the executive order out in March. They go in and they get a lower court judge to stop it. She stops it twice. March goes into August. Now the Supreme Court gives you their decision, and it has shortened the window for your ability to respond. If you had just let it go until the Postal Service made the rule, you might have had more time to get something done. So now they really got to rush. And there's no telling how the Supreme Court may act. The Supreme Court may say, no, we've spoken. We're not doing anything. They just let it sit. Nope, you can't do it. And the Democrats are going to go crazy.
just 70 days to go until the midterms, there's a lot of questions over whether these new rules could be implemented before then. Ainsley, Brian, Lawrence, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Alex.
Thank you so much. Also in politics, J.D. Vance visited Maine. He was promoting.
Pretty big news today. The Supreme Court just handed President Trump at least a temporary win on the issue of election integrity and mail-in ballots just months before the midterms. The court's majority clearing the way for the administration to keep moving on the president's plan to regulate mail-in voting, including requiring the Postal Service to deliver ballots only to voters deemed eligible.
Oh, my God, how controversial could that be? The Postal Service can only deliver ballots to people who are eligible. I can't believe that's so controversial. I can't even imagine what other countries must look at us and go, well, yeah, you only want people getting the ballots who are supposed to be able to vote. And I think this is what has to be explained to your friends and family members and coworkers is nobody's doing anything. There's no restriction. If you're a registered voter, if you are able to vote in our elections, you're going to still get your ballot. That's the part that, they're obfuscating and talking crap about. Nobody's restricting anything. I guess the only thing that's being restricted is that people who aren't supposed to get their hands on these things don't touch them. And the other part is you got to deliver it yourself. None of this harvesting stuff. Nobody bringing a big duffel bag and dumping all these ballots in.
Now, remember, Democrats from 23 states had sued NDC, had sued to stop the president. But today, the Supreme Court lifted an injunction and said that those states, they essentially didn't have the legal standing to bring the challenge. President Trump is not anti-mail-in ballots, by the way, per se, but he is against abusing the process, and he believes that only people who are truly eligible to vote should be getting the ballots. And
isn't that a what do you call it, a fait accompli? I mean, shouldn't that be nothing to disagree with? You could be sitting across the table from your crazy Aunt Karen, who is a complete nut job liberal, and you're like, Aunt Karen, hold on a second. Shouldn't we make sure that the only people who get to vote are people who are eligible to vote? Can we not even agree on that? If you can't agree on that, we shouldn't even be sitting at the table. You shouldn't even be in my house. Don't you at least acknowledge the fact that people who vote should be people who are allowed to vote? How is that controversial?
Frankly, having all those ballot applications mailed to them makes sense. Here with more insight is Mike Davis, Article 3 Project President and former clerk to Justice Gorsuch. Mike, so the Supreme Court, and it was an unsigned order, right? But they essentially said that they expect further challenges. They're not ruling on the underlying merits of the case. But why is this still significant at this juncture?
President Trump ordered his Postal Service, his Attorney General, his Secretary of Homeland Security to work together to make sure that states are only using our Postal Service to mail ballots to lawful voters. And
now you've heard it a second time. And I want you to really remember that when you're out there talking to the freaks online or whatever, where you work or whoever you come across. They did this. President Trump didn't do anything. I'll just say it one more time. They chose, whenever they decided to make this thing happen, that they were going to allow people to put ballots into mailboxes. They were going to take the piece of paper and insert it into a mailbox. Sometimes let's stick all this stuff into a mailbox. But nonetheless, it's a mailbox. Now, all of a sudden, that blue thing that sits on the corner. By the way, I haven't seen one of those in a long time. Have you? Have you seen a mailbox? Because it seems like the only mailboxes I know of are in the hood. Because the mailman comes to my house. I just put the little red flaggy up thing, and he knows to go in there and grab it. I haven't even seen a mailbox in probably 15 years. That should be a good poll question. Who's seen a mailbox? Where are these mailboxes? In the hood, in the shady areas where, you have to go and stick it in. So they found out, hey, listen, if these things here, most people aren't going to want to hang out by the mailbox. We can dump a whole bunch of stuff in here. But in any event, it's a federal mailbox.
To illegal aliens and other unlawful voters. And there was an Obama judge in Boston, this left-wing radical judge.
Indira Tawani.
Couldn't do that.
Yeah, Indira Tawani was the district court judge Obama appointed.
She's a radical, and she said President Trump couldn't do that. The First Circuit agreed. The Supreme Court correctly said that, yes, the president can move forward, and this is preliminary. If there is injury to real parties down the road, then they can bring a lawsuit, but the states are not injured here.
Now, Mike, do you think that there is enough time for the administration to implement these regs? Because some mail-in ballots may have already gone out, or they're about to go out. Tell us about that.
I mean, the president is going to move fast. And I would just say this. Why are the Democrats so scared to have accountability with our elections? Why are they so scared to make sure that the Postal Service is not committing mail fraud by mailing ballots to illegal aliens and other?
That's the million-dollar question. The million-dollar question that you'll never see any liberal or Democrat answer. They will just come back with, what's the big problem? You're restricting. You're making it oppressive. People can't vote. Why don't we just make sure that it's the right people? This is a complete circular argument. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. None. And nobody can convince me otherwise, that people don't have the ability to be determined legal to vote. In fact, it just smells of the other. It just stinks of corruption that you are stuffing the mailbox.
For illegal voters.
It would shock you to know, Mike, by the way, that Ketanji Brown Jackson issued a blistering dissent to this order, essentially saying this is all Kafkaesque and this must be stopped. But, Mike, we'll have to say.
I don't give a crap what Ketanji DEI Jackson has to say. She shouldn't be on the court. Look at what some of the stuff she said. Justice Amy Coney Barrett delivered a sharp rebuke to what Ketanji Brown Jackson said, limited nationwide injunctions. In the majority, Barrett wrote, Justice Jackson, however, chooses a starting line of attack that is tethered neither to these sources nor, frankly, to any doctrine whatsoever. Waving away attention to the limits on judicial power as a mind-numbing technical query. She offers a vision of judicial role that would make even the most ardent defender of judicial supremacy blush. Oh, come here. Oh, she just spanked her. We will not dwell on Justice Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself. We observe only that Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary. Ouch. She basically said, DEI Jackson, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're worried about the dictator president while you want to be a dictator judge. And I'm like, we are getting to the point now where the court is so split, not just in political ideology, but in ideology as to how the country is supposed to be run, and it has nothing to do with balls and strikes of law. Ketanji Jackson is a nut job.
That conversation for another day. Thank you very much.
It's not the end of the story. We're going to see more litigation on this, and the Supreme Court may well ultimately decide that what's happening here is improper. But what they've done is they've left a sense of unease here, along with all the other ways that we are concerned that the Trump administration is going to try to interfere in the elections with this midterm.
Hear the news that they give on these liberal stations, with all the other ways that Trump is going to try to interfere. No wonder these people are nuts. No wonder they are completely crazy. They're being told 24/7 on these channels how bad it is and how crazy everything Trump is doing. They can't even comprehend legality at this point. You know, the fact of the matter that most of us want to be on Team America, not these guys. These guys don't care about America. And Ken here, he's been one of the deep state puppets for quite some time.
Here is the latest example, Willie.
And yet another moment where the Supreme Court, of course, seems highly deferential to President Trump and the executive branch, the conservative majority, at times acting like it's part of the team.
No. If you listen to these people, hopefully you don't, you hear it from me, it's so important to understand they are poisoning Americans. That's not news. That is propaganda. That is gaslighting. Call balls and strikes. You're supposed to be a news reporter. What actually happened, we've explained already in this video, but that's all you need to tell people. You need to tell people the truth. The truth is what is absent on the left.
And J-Mart, let's talk about the politics of this. You know, the polls suggest this November we could be heading for a Democratic wave. And strategists in both parties think the House is heavily favored to go Democrat. Senate.
Really? Who are these people? Where are these polls? I have no idea. But the interesting part about that, and I hate polls, but if you're going to use polls to support your argument, then why aren't you using the poll regarding election security? The very same pollsters who say that, the Democrats are going to win are also saying that it's an 85% asset or base of people who want election integrity. So if you're going to use the numbers and it's from the same people, why not report and do what those people want?
True toss-up now, something that would have been unthinkable a year ago, considering the map looked pretty favorable for Republicans. But now Democrats think they've got a chance. But there's been this fear hovering over this election for a year or more that the Trump administration was going to find a way to put its thumb on the scale, whether that...
I just wanted to point it out to you. You're hearing it. You are hearing how they get these people so crazy they want to go out and shoot people. You're hearing it right there. Trump's going to put his thumb on the scale. Instead of just saying what is actually happening. Now you know what's happening, which is nothing. That's the worst part about it. You guys are freaking out at the chance that there's a remote chance that they say Trump can go ahead and do this with the post office. As of today, right now, nothing has happened. They have to wait until the rule is published tomorrow before they can react. It's coming. But right now, with the sad faces and sitting down and talking about Trump taking things over, what are you afraid of? It hasn't even happened yet. Wait till you get the rule in your hand, and then tomorrow we can talk about it in tomorrow's show.
As the ICE agents in the streets, the National Guard trying to crack down on voter rolls. You know, of course, we'll see if they even accept the results, if they don't like them come November. But here it appears, at least temporarily, they're getting yet another assist from the courts.
Oh, my gosh. By the way, it's only us who are going to have a problem with the votes. We can look at every piece of data. You can put every piece of data into AI and go, how the hell did they get so many votes in 2020? Where'd it come from? Nobody's come before that came close. So you don't think it's a little odd to question? I know you don't want me talking about it, but now we're seeing it. We're seeing why they're freaking out is because all of the tools and levers that they use to manifest 90 gazillion votes are just not being restricted, but being defined.
Now is former federal prosecutor and senior legal analyst Ellie Honig. So, Ellie, the Supreme Court didn't rule on the legality of the executive order. Can you just explain what this means, how we got here?
Right, Anderson. So this goes back to an executive order that the president issued in March that really does two major things. First, it tells DHS you have to put together these state citizenship lists. It doesn't specify how, but it basically says you put together for each state a list of everyone who's 18 or over and a U.S. citizen and hence eligible to vote. Then send those lists over to the states and prioritize prosecution of any state official who sends a ballot to someone who's ineligible.
See, that's a third part that other people aren't talking about. He actually said the truth right there. Not only are we going to make sure the people are eligible, but because you're using the Postal Service, a federal agency, if you encourage people to, do stuff that's not legal, we can go ahead and prosecute you. Now you're going to see people in these voting booths and not voting, but polling stations are now realizing if I facilitate this, if I'm involved in it, now I can go to jail. That's big.
Second thing the order does is tell the Postal Service you are not to deliver any mail-in ballots to or from anyone who is not on those state lists. Now, 23 states plus D.C. all sued to block this. They basically said it is our constitutional prerogative as states to run our own election. This is the federal executive branch trying to infringe on that. And the states won in the lower courts. But today the U.S. Supreme Court said this lawsuit is premature. There has been no actual concrete harm yet. We're still at a fairly early stage, and therefore the states don't have standing to bring this lawsuit yet. So it's a win.
I love that because now you're hearing the same term they threw at us. Remember when it happened to us, they're like, you lost everything. No, they just said we didn't have standing. Now all of a sudden they're defining standing. We didn't lose yet. Oh, no, all they said was we didn't have standing. But I thought that was the measurement for saying how many times Trump lost. Trump lost 65 times. He's lost every single. No, they said people didn't have standing. Now you're getting the same result, which I think that's also freaking them out because Mark Elias and Norm Eisen and everybody that's suing everybody, the worst thing that can happen is it never gets to court. That's the problem right now. That's why they're all freaking out, is because you're about to get a taste of your own medicine likely. If it gets to court and they say you don't have standing to sue, you're effed. There is no appeal. There's nothing. It's just like you did in 2020 to us. Sorry, no standing. Nobody wrote that rule in place. And now somebody in Trump's orbit found a way. What if we just used the Postal Service? And I would have loved to have been in that meeting when people looked around and went, well, we can't stop. Oh, it's federal. Oh my gosh. We can make rules as to how you use the federal mailboxes. Now, I would think California would probably try to become their own mail company real soon here. Maybe that's an option. I don't even know what kind of area we are going into. Can a state create its own mail service? Is there anything constitutional? I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. But I bet you there's people looking right now. Can we be our own mail people? This is going to get crazy.
For the Trump administration, but a temporary one.
So when would it go into effect, and would it impact the midterms or just future elections beyond this year?
So with respect to the 2026 midterms, in a word, chaos. That's what just...
That's perfect. The Democrats are in a mix of chaos. See, there's no telling right now, as of today, what action is going to happen. All we know for sure is that tomorrow at some point, they're going to issue this rule. And that rule is going to say, this is what you have to do, which I'm sure they have spent a lot of time drafting. So now they're going to get this rule. They're going, oh, everyone's going to read it, and they're going to try and find an angle for them to go ahead and do something about it. I bet you one of those angles was going to be what, what's his name? Anderson Cooper just said. What about the timing? Can this even get fixed before the midterms? So that's going to be it. They're going to run to court. We don't have time. We don't have time to do this before November. We can't get it done. Except the problem is that you have nothing to do. You see that? If this is a federal thing, if the Postal Service is going to be running it, if DHS is going to be running it, what are you telling the government how they can't do it in time? You don't have anything to do. So what they're going to have to sue is whether or not the DHS and Postal Service can overcome whatever time barrier there may be to make it happen. It's really that simple. You guys can't, you're not involved. You don't work for the post office. So everything he says here now about timing is another unknown.
Justice Jackson says in her dissent, think about all the things that have to happen in the next 71 days between now and the midterms. DHS has to put together these lists. There's no indication they've even started doing that. That's a massive...
there's no indication they've even started it. You got them on speed dial? How do you know? See, this is what the Democrats have woken up to, because now they're realizing, oh, how are they going to get this done in 71 days? Well, it's 71 days to you. It may have been 200 days ago. They may have already started. Now you're saying to yourself, well, they don't have the roles from the blue states that wouldn't, want to participate. But this is the age of AI. This is the age of give me the data, we'll stick it in the machine, and I'll have it in about 30 minutes. They are completely stuck. That's why they've been fighting to not give access to the data. If you don't have the data, then you can't say it's complete. But then that brings up a whole new issue in court. The only reason we can't get it done in time is because they won't give us the data. You can't have it both ways. You can't say we can't implement this in time if you are, in fact, the arsonist setting the fire. You can't go into the Supreme Court and say, we can never get this done by November. Because the Supreme Court would say, well, the only reason you're not getting it done is because you won't provide the roles. So if you don't provide the roles, That's you obstructing. This can get, I hope you realize this can get hairy. I mean, like he said chaos.
Task. The Postal Service has to put out a rule on how they're going to carry this out. Again, they've only just started doing that. The states.
See? Again, you don't know. You don't know what Trump's team has been doing in the background. Do you really think that they went all the way through this? They got to this point and said, you know what? How long is it going to take us to get these rolls and figure everything out? That is a real bad understatement. You have no idea. I don't have any idea if they've already begun putting this in place. Maybe that's why they never pushed for the Save America Act. Maybe that's why Thune didn't get it done. Maybe President Trump has been doing a head fake the entire time. Oh, you got to get it done. You got to vote for it. Oh, we can't get it done. Oh, well, because the Postal Service is going to take care of it. The Postal Service probably has the voter rolls from 2020, what's the last one, 24? They probably have it. Is there a bunch more people? There's a lot less. So who knows what they have already done?
Have to figure out how they're going to comply with all this. And in the meantime, there's going to be ongoing litigation. So I think there's real questions, as Caitlin was just saying, about whether this can realistically get implemented in time for midterms. But importantly, no matter what happens in 2026, this could well be in effect for 2028. So it's not clear how it's going to affect the midterms. But if it goes into effect, then the next presidential election is in play as well.
So for states to appeal, do eligible voters have to be thrown off the voter rolls before the states can prove this will throw eligible people off the voter rolls?
But in order to appeal an eligible voter being thrown off the rolls, you have to provide the rolls. You got no standing. You can't sue because it hasn't been done. You can't sue because you don't want to provide the rolls. So how can you cause the problem and then expect the court to side with you? So right now, the Democrats, we're not in checkmate, but we've moved some pieces on the board where they're sweating going, wait a second, how many moves do we have here? Well, give us the data. Then you can sue if it doesn't fit right. Put everybody on it. Very simple. And I can't imagine a major news network saying what he just said can't get it done in time. Yesterday, I told you about what I did with AI, just my little studio right here and merging list. I can't even imagine what supercomputers that Elon must have and people have where they're like, we can go ahead and look at this list in about an hour. 20 million people, match the names, match the birthdays, match the social security numbers. Boom, here's your eligible list. Every time I hear people say not enough time, it tells me you're not being technologically truthful. We're in a completely different era. This isn't people going through something one by one. That ain't gonna happen. And we don't know what they've already set up. So when you're listening to these people talk, you realize at this point, they don't know what to do. There are so many landmines at this point. If we go here, might have to give them the data. If we go here, we may not have standing. If we go here, where are you gonna go? He's boxed you in at this point solely because you want to use the mailboxes.
So that's the ultimate harm that I think states would have to show. But of course, you wouldn't necessarily know that until after the midterms. I think that this is going to be ongoing even in the next few days. For example, one thing that has happened is on Friday, the Postal Service formally issued their rule explaining how they're going to do this. And I think just the issuance of that rule could give the parties enough to go back into court and say, okay, now we've gone from an executive order to an actual rule. Now the harms are more concrete. So watch for this.
Nope, because the harm hasn't happened. Whenever you sue somebody, if you slip and fall in somebody's house, you broke something. You get in a car accident, boom, you can sue. A rule is not evidence of injury. Injury being, I was wronged. It's a rule. In order to prove wrong, Somebody who's a legal voter has to be excluded. I want to make sure you understand the technicality of all this is that nobody can be wronged unless they are excluded. You can't be excluded if they don't provide the list to scrub. So it is not quite checkmate, but it's like, okay, let's see what you do. What's your next move? Hey, Gavin, we're just waiting on you. You can't even go to the court. Well, I think you're going to exclude like 20 people. You can't do I thinks. Show me people who have been wronged. Show me specifically John Smith, who has been told he can't vote. That's what the problem is at this point, and that's why it's such a big deal what happens tomorrow.
To keep going, there are various lawsuits. I don't think it's over. I think various parties are going to say, as we get closer and closer to the election, now we can show harm. We'll see if the courts find that it's enough harm.
The elections clause of the Constitution reads in part, quote, the times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be...
Why are you even showing this, Anderson? You're trying to convolute something and get your vote, your audience to try and think there's something wrong. He's talking about the manner of the elections. Funny, you didn't put anything about who operates the mailboxes. I don't see that there. This has nothing to do with what's going on.
Prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. It goes on to say Congress can alter regulations. It does not mention the president. So how does the Supreme Court square that with the executive order?
And that's by design. The founders did not want to give the chief executive any power over elections. This is exactly the argument that the states made. This is exactly the argument that the three liberal justices said. They said this running of elections is up to the states or Congress. There's no role for the president. There's no role for the executive branch. The majority today says.
See, what the problem is here, it's like I went down to the baseball game last night. It's like looking for the fastball. You got the curve. You're still talking about fastballs. You're thinking that a fastball is coming, and you completely missed the curveball. The curveball and everything that Anderson Cooper, which tells you they're really reaching. Everything he just said has to do with the execution of the election, not the screws and bolts and tools that you can use. You guys are still in charge of your election, but these are my mailboxes. And at that point, it's completely different. Is it a technicality? Technically. But it's one big-ass technicality that you decided to do, that you decided to utilize. Somewhere when you guys were coming up and hatched your plan, you said, we're going to use all these mailboxes wherever they happen to be, and we're going to stuff stuff in it, and they can't stop us. Except you're using a federal tool that has federal rules. You can run your election any way you want. Those are my frickin' mailboxes. 100%. You can't touch those. You can't even do anything because we may just pick them up and leave. Imagine that. Imagine that.
Well, all the president's doing is he's giving orders to his own federal executive branch agencies. That sort of overlooks what's the practical effect of all this. But for now, the Supreme Court has taken a procedural off-ramp, and they haven't had to wrestle with that issue fully, given that they've said this is premature. But you're right, that ultimately is the constitutional question here.
Take a look here. Favor photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor.
All right, like I said, I'm not putting any credence in polls, except you are using the same polls to say that, the things that you want to uphold. But if you're using these same polls, this poll here by, who's this, Pew Research is telling you that the overwhelming, not close, the overwhelming amount of voters say we want photo IDs. 85% of white, 82% of Latinos, and I don't know what the hell is wrong with black people. Only 76% of black people.
82% of Latino, 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So something of a non...
It's that simple. So that's why I wanted to show you guys, give you the background as to what's going on, let you understand all the nuances of what we're going to see tomorrow when this rule comes out. But if it's so overwhelmingly positive that people in this country, American citizens, want voter ID, then why the hell would any politician be completely against it? There's only one reason. There's only one reason, and that's because they know they need it to cheese. People have asked me, they text me, they email me, Barry, how are you so confident? How are you so in the tank for Trump? Why are you such, a bootlicker? Like, no, I just look at what's going on. I have the opportunity to get feeds and all kinds of different information. I don't need to look at idiots on X saying stuff. I'm like, nobody's answering this. I challenge you, answer it. Why would anybody want there to be no ID for voting? Why would you not want to follow the rules of the Postal Service? Who gets wronged? Who gets hurt? If I went and I put a ballot in the mailbox and it didn't count, and at that point I'm like, hey, mine didn't get counted, I've been wronged. But as of right now, nothing's happened. You can't sue a ghost. It didn't happen yet. Well, it could happen. Well, I guess you'll have to wait until after the election. And then you can't undo it because, as we know, there is no mechanism to undo an election. When Anderson Cooper said that Congress, they should do stuff, well, they should have done it right after 2020. That should have been the first thing, right after 2020. Let's get together. Let's write a law. Let's make this law say that if there's fraud in an election, here's the different things that we are going to be able to do. Get it passed, and then we would never be in this situation ever again. But because you didn't do anything in 2020, I am beginning to feel that this has been a head fake all along by Trump because he didn't want them to pass the Save America Act because he's got a better plan that we can make sure happens in 2026 and 2028. Could it work? Absolutely. Could it fail? Yeah, it could fail. You're putting a lot of credence on 6 judges in the Supreme Court. That's where this is going. It's not going to be the voters. It's not going to be Congress. It's not going to be the Senate. It's going to be 6 people in black robes. We need 5 of them to say, yeah, shut it down. It's okay. And then if they say no, then you have your last resort of going, martial law or whatever. Or maybe some conjunction of the two. Maybe because at that point you put the military and you have them sit there and you watch people put things in these ballots. They're going to be intimidated. Men with guns. Well, they've been walking around Washington, D.C. for quite some time. Have you thought about that? The military's been in Washington, D.C., walking around doing stuff. I saw them. Maybe that's what's supposed to happen. Just put the fear of God into people who want to cheat. Just the presence of soldiers walking around. It's not going to intimidate me. I'm not doing anything. Not going to intimidate you, but it'll intimidate the hell out of the bad guys. And those bad guys were the ones we need to get out of our elections. So I don't know what's going to happen, but the first salvo is going to be fired tomorrow. So we'll have more about it tomorrow when that rule gets published, because I'm telling you, right after that, that's when all the flurry of legal activity will take place. The reason why the legal activity will take place is because they know at this point where this is headed, they've lost. 23 states don't want to provide voter rolls. Those 23 states, more than likely, are all Democrat states. They know they can't do it. And so that's why I'm so confident, because I see somebody on the run. I see my opponent freaking out. My opponent meaning the Democrats and socialists and all those nut jobs. This just one rule tomorrow could flip 2026 and 2028. So we'll see about it, see what happens. All right, SV, what you got?
Hey, man, I was going to go for a walk. It's been over an hour.
There was so much to. I texted SV. I was like, "Man, I got so much to cover. I don't want to be over people's heads. I need to break it down because I know people are hearing such craziness right now. With all these different things."
I had so much breaking news, but I had to get rid of some of it because it's no longer breaking. So I have 6 cuts right now. Cuts 3 and 4 are regards to SpaceX, but let's start with cuts 5 and 6 because of Dolly Parton passing away. Cuts 5 and 6 are 2 little cuts about her that some folks may not have known.
Okay, let's check it out here.
All right, so this is the cabin that Dolly Parton grew up with. 11 siblings. I didn't know that. No electricity, no water. She died worth $650 million plus, and after she donated $500 million to charity.
So she grew up with no electricity, no running water, and she wasn't making TikTok videos about how hard it was to do anything.
Yeah, imagine that.
Oh man! Wow.
Yeah.
And you know what's
Life
funny?
is hard.
This is funny because I didn't know a lot of people. I didn't know a lot of white people lived like that. You always hear about the poor people. People don't consider themselves poor who had to do that. People who had dirt floors up in the mountains and things of that nature and hunted and did everything they had to do, and they were self-sufficient. They farmed. They lived off the land. I don't know. Seemingly doing okay, huh? Didn't have TikTok,
Yeah, right?
Didn't have cell phones, and everything else. But Barry, it's different.
Those data centers, man. I marked myself safe from data centers today. I know you're going to cover that, yeah. But anyway,
no, I don't have those today. I don't want to piss too many people off at the same time. But okay. So it's this one.
All right, so here's Dolly Parton's legacy goes far beyond music. When 7th and 8th graders around her Tennessee hometown were dropping out of school, Dolly offered them something incredible. Pair up with a buddy, promise to help each other stay in school and graduate, and she would give them $500 each. Her Dollywood Foundation says about rate for these classes 30% to just 6%. That was Dolly. She didn't just talk about helping people. She put her name and money in it.
So I don't know if it's your mic. People in the chat, it sounds like your mic is going in and out, or it's my headset, one or the other. I'm not really sure, but
I'm connected. I'm 5x5.
All right.
Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, now. She was obviously a huge philanthropist as well, so.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I knew a lot of her music and I didn't really follow her. I mean, I knew about Dollywood and stuff like that, but it really shows that she cared a lot about people. And she was having some health issues. I looked it up on Grok. Even though she allegedly passed peacefully in Nashville at home, she had kidney issues and other stuff from some of the medications, dizziness and so on. So, it's just part of getting old. She was 80 years old. So, yeah.
That's, I like I'm telling you, I didn't think I'd ever be in this position here with my knees and my lower back and stuff. I'm like, ow. But yeah, as you start getting older, things start breaking down like a car. Like a car. need a new muffler. I gotta go to break and do this spot, but I gotta tell you, I went down and I told you guys coming in August and September how things were going to get and how crazy it was with different events and things of that nature. So yesterday, Robin and I went down to see the Bo Sox beat up on the Marlins, and it was awesome. But I think I posted it. SV was amazing. Heavy Latin influence. The lounge area was packed. It was buzzing. You could hear the din of conversation. And out on the field, they were doing the national anthem. The televisions all had it on. And all of a sudden, you could hear it like someone had a fader and was turning down the conversation. And it got silent. And then everybody in the lounge stood up. And some people went out to their seats, and whoever did stayed in the lounge and hand over heart screaming the national anthem. I mean, and I'm looking around going,
Fantastic.
Yeah, they are. It's nothing like what people are saying on X. It's nothing. I mean, it was amazing. I was so happy, to see it. And then we sat in our seats and we had some perfect seats. I mean, I was able to call balls and strikes. We were right behind.
I saw that. You had great seats, Barry. I was like, all right, you should have streamed it. I could have watched it through you.
And it was funny. I remember playing baseball in high school, but man, the ball looked like a pellet the way these guys were throwing 95, 98 miles an hour. And it was crazy. Good time.
Wow.
But I just told people in the post, man, just get out there and live life. Have fun. Don't listen to the crap. I don't ever want to be a naysayer. That's why I don't want to talk about Lindsey Clancy and all that kind of crap. It drives me crazy.
Well,
and then this Friday, we're going out for football. What?
Oh, cool. Well, go check out cut number, was it 4? Look at what Elon's doing down in Louisiana. And this is has also his cut was 3, where he's talking about the SpaceX stuff. But I'm buying some more of that stock actually, so that's going to be going up.
So what do we got here? Hold on. Let me put it up here. Is it this one?
I don't think many people knew about this. So he's creating a Starbase down there to support thousands of Starship flights a year. With missions launching to Earth orbit, the moon, Mars, and beyond. I mean, it sounds like something that it's just going to be done on a daily basis. Before we were like thinking it's kind of like, nebulous kind of thing. But look at this stuff. They plan on making all these little Starbase stations to send stuff into space. I think it's so cool.
Is that a rendering or is it already built?
No, that's rendering.
Oh, okay. So he's going to have he's going to have all these launch pads.
Yep. To support thousands of flights per year. And then, they're trying to get that company, the cut number 3. I didn't know about this. TerraFab, it's a company that he's going to build a major factory to develop chips and other things. Let's see if you could bring that up. Yeah, sure. Elon Musk TerraFab has officially advanced into the agreement phase in Texas. I remember I read about this not too long ago. It just kind of said how much it was. I looked at Grok and it didn't say the exact cost or what it's going to be making per year. But this is basically, it's going to be a massive chip and advanced computing factory. It's another major step that's closer to construction. I mean, this guy's going full bore. I mean, we're going to be, he wants to go to Mars. And, I don't know how many years I got left, but I would love to see somebody land on Mars before I go. I think that would be pretty darn cool.
So it says here, a 34-page agreement between a governor's office. What governor is it? Oh, Texas. Okay, it must be Abbott.
Texas,
okay,
right? Yeah.
TerraFab is a next-generation vertically integrated semiconductor manufacturing and advanced computing facility.
You know what that means, Bart? Ching.
From December 1st through December 31st, 2028. 10-year tax incentive period. Oh my gosh, requires a $13 million performance bond, another major step towards bringing TerraFab to life in Texas. That's what I don't get. These Democrats, they don't want anything. I mean, I believe they started the craziness about the data centers and everything because it doesn't make any sense why people would want it. Oh, Barry makes noise. Go look for yourself. Oh, it uses water. You sure about that? I mean, people are being bamboozled big time, big time.
They just seem to want to be miserable and have abortions. I don't know. It's just
you didn't go there. Oh my God, he went there. Oh my God.
Am I going to get you demonetized, Barry? I'm sorry. We can cut that out. I'm sorry.
All right. I'll be back with you. I'll be back with you in a second. You crack. Oh my gosh, I can't even laugh about this stuff. It's so funny. All right, so let me tell you guys about Lear Capital. Have you ever looked at one of today's biggest investment stories and thought to yourself, I wish I'd gotten in on that sooner? If you're here since the beginning when I started working with Lear, remember silver was, I think, 27 or 28. That's how low it was. And, now we've got AI, you've seen SpaceX. It seems by the time the rest of you hear about an opportunity, the biggest gains have already happened. But what if the next opportunity isn't the next opportunity? What if it's making the headlines possible? And I'm talking about, as SV just, he didn't know. I mean, he talked about what's going on with Elon Musk. All that stuff needs silver. Silver is a critical material behind the AI revolution. It's used in the technology, the data centers. You know, hold on. I got to stop there. That's why I keep saying, I'm good with the data centers. You know what? I've got some stuff here. I can't wait for the do you know what this is worth right now, by the way? This one little piece here, I shouldn't say because I don't want people kicking in the door trying to find it. But understand, when I first started talking to you guys about this, what it was worth then and what it was worth now. And you know, just not silver, but here's one of its friends, a little gold coin. That little gold coin right there. If you had bought it, you know, back in the day, you would know. But the data centers need silver. Advanced electronics, robotics, the infrastructure AI depends upon needs silver. And all the bitching and complaining about data centers is not going to stop it from happening, which means the demand for silver, you know, supply and demand, the demand for silver will continue. You don't want to be learning about all of this after everyone else catches on. So remember, silver price predictions are still at $150 an ounce and higher. And silver has been stuck around 60 to 70 for quite a while. That's why I want you to get a copy of Lear Capital's free report, The AI Revolution. It explains why so many investors are buying silver at today's price, even with the fluctuations. Buy low, sell high is always the golden rule. If AI keeps growing the way many experts expect, and as you're seeing daily, the demand for silver could grow right along with it in the years to come. Call Lear Capital now at 800-601-5430 to get your free copy of that document, The AI Revolution. And while you're on the phone, ask how you could qualify for up to $20,000 in bonus silver. I've owned silver for years because I believe in having tangible assets, actual tangible assets, not that paper stuff, as a part of a diversified strategy. So whether you decide it's right for you is going to be based upon your decision, an informed decision, but at least get the facts before everyone else is talking about it. Call Lear at 800-601-5430, 800-601-5430, or go to learberry.com. And one thing you won't have to worry about is the socialists probably aren't going to buy any, so you'll be good.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
So President Trump posted something about Dolly Parton. President Trump posted, very sad to report that Dolly Parton, one of the greatest country singers and far beyond ever has just passed away. This is a true loss for millions of people. There has never been anyone like her and never will. In her honor, I am lowering the American flag throughout the United States for a 1-week period. Wow. Beginning tonight at 6 p.m. Rest in peace, Dolly. The world loves you. President Donald J. Trump. That's fantastic. That's nice. All right. So I want to move into what's going on in Canada.
This is a featured presentation from the Fanfare Newsroom.
This was just posted. President Trump out with a brand new Truth Social post regarding tariffs on Canada. It says, quote, on January 1st, 2027, tariffs on all cars, trucks, both large and small, automotive parts, and steel will be increased to 50%. Built in the U.S., and there are zero tariffs. Canada will be treated like a state no longer on trade and in other ways. Also, they are among the worst nations in the world to deal with. They feel entitled, and yet we don't need Canada. They need us.
See, that ticks a lot of people off because President Trump is talking tough to Canada. He's letting Canada know in no uncertain terms, we're not playing your games anymore. And they don't seem to like that, but they don't have a leg to stand on. I want you to hear something and understand who we're negotiating, who he was negotiating with, and understand the unseriousness of these people. I mean, true, completely unseriousness.
Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered today on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. We recognize and honor the enduring presence, cultures, and contributions of Indigenous peoples.
Wave the white flag now. You're done. You're telling the world that you're not a serious government. You're recognizing that, we're talking to you about our sovereignty, but while admitting we're not sovereign. This isn't our land. We're just holding out here. That's weak sauce. And you expect to go toe-to-toe with President Trump? Good luck.
And we are grateful to be able to gather on this territory today. Alors aujourd'hui, nous sommes réunis.
Imagine trying to negotiate as being tough, and before you can even begin the negotiations, you're letting other people know, I'm sorry, I meant to apologize because, we're not supposed to be here. This is like, sacred idiots. They have no grounds, nothing to talk about. Even CNBC started beating up on them.
In the economic approach of Canada, I know you're familiar with GDP. Personal GDP actually is falling most years in Canada. The OECD projects that Canada, out of 38 OECD members, will rank 38, dead last in GDP per capita growth through 2060. And I'm trying to figure out why. I looked to see, and I do find one thing. It says here, tax and regulatory competitiveness. There's a gap even with the U.S. where we think permitting, and we've got all these problems down here. How bad is it?
Nobody takes this country seriously. Oh, we're going to raise the tariffs against $1 for dollar. Okay, go for it. You rank dead last of civilized countries. You're last. Get the white flag and start putting it up the flagpole. You're done.
Canada declined to final.
Oops, where did I go? Oops, I'm sorry. I keep hitting the wrong buttons. Here we go.
In Canada. And what changes do you think need to be made at this point? I don't think you're really negotiating from a strong position based on these things.
Well, that is where I might respectfully disagree with you. I think that if Canada is the top export destination for 26 U.S. states, we sell oil and gas and potash essential to the U.S. manufacturing economy, huge value added in the United States. So we can find compelling examples where trade done properly benefits both countries. But I certainly take your question in terms of the regulatory burden, in terms of tax competitiveness. Those are issues that Prime Minister Carney ran on in the election last year. He got a mandate.
You see, that's the problem. You guys are talking political campaigns. We're talking money. We're talking actual money that the American people are now going to pull back from. And you're worried about political campaigns.
To be able to ensure that federal permitting, for example, of these major projects, think of big energy projects, think of clean energy projects, port infrastructure. We're diversifying our.
You're diversifying yourself right out the door. President Trump said, over the last, and I did not know this until he put it out there. Over the last 10 years, United States lost on average $60 billion a year with Canada. 60 billion is what we lost as these talks have now collapsed. Matter of fact, I don't even consider that a loss anymore. If you were losing 60 billion and you're saying I'm no longer going to do that, then you are no longer losing $60 billion a year, which is the idea and what he's probably trying to stop and trying to fix. He continued, Canada has been ripping off the United States for decades. They have been charging our farmers 400% tariffs and more. They have driven many wonderful U.S. companies out of business. For 10 years, they wouldn't certify Gulfstream jets until I got involved. They wanted 100% of the market for Gulfstream's Canadian competitor. I deal with many countries, and Canada is easily the most difficult and unreasonable. They feel entitled, but they are not a state, and they will be entitled no longer. Okay, here's a part of the show where I'm going to tell you what I really feel is happening right now. I think Iran, I think Canada, maybe some other countries have decided it's in their best interest to run out the clock. I don't know if you know college basketball, but back in the day, North Carolina used to run a four corners offense. Providence University, Providence College used to do the same thing. They didn't have certain, players to challenge, so they would just pass it around and you would just sit there and 10, 15 minutes would go off and there'd be not even a shot taken. They were just running out the clock. They were running the four corners. And if they could get it down to like the last 4 minutes, then they'd start playing, because now you're looking at a 4-minute game. But all they would do, this is before the shot clock, and just pass it around and wait for the clock to run out. I believe at this point that these talks have collapsed. And the reason that they've collapsed is that right now, many countries, probably spurred on by the Democrats, are being told, just run out the clock. We're going to be back in control. And as soon as we get back in control, we'll take care of everything. We'll steal from the American people. We'll give you money. Whatever you need, we'll give it to you. Here, we'll give it back to Somalia. We'll give it all around the world. We'll just keep taxing people. I had posted something earlier today, and I want you all to understand this when you're talking to friends, family, and coworkers. If there is really, truly an affordability issue, if there truly is an affordability issue, why is it that every single Democrat, not one or two, every single Democrat voted against no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security? Wouldn't that make things a little bit more affordable if people had more money in their pocket? Of course it would. Why are Democrats fighting the end of property taxes? Wouldn't that put money back in people's pocket? They don't want any of the measures that are actually worthwhile to even happen. All they want is for the government to give people money, the right people money. That's the problem.
The trade deal under the terms agreed earlier this week. Despite the U.S. offer to Canada to receive the best treatment of any major exporter to our market, new demands and walkbacks of other commitments by Canada have upended the careful balance reached in the past days.
So, no deal. What next?
Now, this is Canadian news. This isn't CNBC. This isn't NBC. This is Canadian news right now. And they know what's happening. They understand that Carney pulled the plug. Carney was the one who said no deal on Saturday morning. Mark Carney calls Donald Trump a miscalculation by the afternoon. He had workshopped all of this. He had a better word war instead of being able to fight and negotiate toe-to-toe. Make no mistake about it, we're at war. When you get attacked, and we are being attacked by something called Canada, you got to realize this, Mark Carney's not stupid. He might be a somewhat commie socialist, but he's not stupid. He personally was in charge of the Bank of Canada. He also ran the Bank of England, mainly into the ground, albeit, but at least he ran the Bank of England. He's the first foreign person from another country to hold that job in over 300 years. He can do arithmetic. He can do it in his sleep. 72% of everything Canada sells abroad, 72% is sold to Americans. 72% of your entire economy is based upon Americans buying stuff. How the hell do you go toe-to-toe with somebody when you are completely reliant on them? You have no country. You have no sovereignty. You have no economy if it weren't for the American consumer. And it's much different for us. We can do without Canada. I don't need any bacon. 85% of their crude oil comes down here because the refineries on our Gulf Coast are built to crack that heavy sour crude that they have. The ones that the oil that Alberta scrapes out of the sand. And there's nobody else on earth who wants that much of it. Their aluminum stuff. They've got aluminum, they've got steel out the wazoo, but they can't make it into anything. Their smelters don't run, the stuff that melts the steel doesn't work. And so here you're going to have the I think it's CBC, talking about, we're in trouble.
Honestly, this is maybe the worst case scenario. It was through the day today, we were debating whether the deal that we were all hearing rumblings and briefings about was going to be enough. Would it be good enough for Canadian businesses? I can tell you for certain that this development is not good. And it's not just the tariffs, Susan. The tariffs will be a disaster for the sectors that will be hit by them. They will, where these tariffs hit, much like the ones we've been dealing with for 18 months, they will hit very hard and they will be catastrophic for some business.
Catastrophic. When people use the word catastrophic, you don't want them including your economy in that conversation. They can't win a trade war with the United States. So why would you ever start one? Why would you get yourself and go toe-to-toe with somebody like President Trump in a trade war you can't win? Same reason Iran can't. Iran can't win. They've already lost. Their cultural ideology won't allow them to succumb. But you saw what Scott Bessent did yesterday, and he started turning off the spigot. They can't win. Instead of dropping bombs, we're just scooping up our bucks and saying, you're done. Carney's doing the same thing. He can't win this. So you got to realize he's fighting a war of attrition right now. He is hoping that come November, praying come November, oh my gosh, please let the Democrats come back into power, as if that was going to solve all his ills. He then posted today, I guess he's trying to be a big man out here. This is what he posted. Canada will match the new U.S. tariffs dollar for dollar. In addition, we are introducing $7.5 billion in new and enhanced measures to support Canadian workers and businesses. That builds on the nearly $25 billion in support introduced since the implementation of U.S. unjustified tariffs, defending Canadian jobs, industries, and families. Notice the word he used. I want you to draw particular attention to the word $7.5 billion in new and enhanced measures. You mean loans? You mean you had to borrow $7.5 billion? You had to borrow the money to keep your country afloat? What signal does that send to the rest of the world? It sends a signal that you can't win this. You're done. You're a walking dead, man.
But the collapse in talks might be even worse. And the injection of uncertainty that has now been brought to the fore in the Canadian economy that has been struggling and dealing with uncertainty for 18 long months and really having a hard time with that. This is much deeper.
And a sense, too, that this isn't the end in terms of what could happen next, because the U.S. was out first with its messaging saying that this would have been great for Canada and that it wanted more concessions. Of course, that's the U.S. side. Mr. Carney, the Prime Minister, says it happened differently.
And Mr. Carney now saying we're going to respond with dollar-for-dollar tariffs, which is a very, from the Canadian side, steep escalation. Jameson, or an American official, tonight has said that if Canada retaliates, the president will be given options to level out the playing field yet again. So we're into this cycle where if Canada retaliates, the United States will retaliate to the retaliation. We would probably then retaliate further. And there's a key thing here is there are no scheduled meetings. We don't.
Nope. So now we're just firing at each other, and you're basically a Chihuahua. Sorry, Midas, looking at a Great Dane, to America, and you can't stop what's coming. You can't even fight it. President Trump also posted this. Said the United States is giving serious consideration to changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America, and that we don't expect to be doing much business with Ontario any longer. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald J. Trump. Poke the bear. Keep poking this bear. Their own economists, their own news stations understand they are looking at a catastrophe in the making. So if your own people are using the words like catastrophe, what the hell are you doing? Well, the only thing you can be doing is rolling the dice and hoping that in November, the midterms will stop the tariffs and open the door for Canada to get some legs underneath them. That's the whole strategy here. Make sure Congress doesn't go the Republicans and absorb the hit for about a couple months here. We'll be okay. It's going to hurt. I'm going to borrow $7 billion to get us through, because we think that once, the Americans start feeling their grocery bills go up and some companies have some layoffs, you're counting on all this. That will be all you need. The media then, just like with Iran, would do everything down here to make it seem as though big bad Trump messed up once again like Iran and try to get the election swayed to the Democrats. See, but the one thing that Carney can't fix is what happens with these mail-in ballots. So you're gambling with your country's entire future based on the fact of the Democrats taking power.
Have a sense of when they could get back to the table to try to put this back together. I texted one senior business leader in Canada tonight to say, how bad is this? And his response was simple, very.
So what is the assessment from what you've been hearing from business leaders who were close to those talks, although not in the room, about what could have devolved here?
It sounds, Kate McKenna had some great reporting through the afternoon about how Howard Lutnick and to a certain degree Peter Navarro had both been trying to scuttle the deal that was on the table. The Americans say there were new demands that kept being put in place by the Canadians. As best I've been able to learn, there were 3 demands put in place by the Canadians as sort of a counter to the deal that was on offer from the United States. There will be books written about what happened tonight, and we won't have all of the information tonight. We won't have it next month. We probably won't have it in a year. But it is monumental what has happened.
So just brief.
They will write books about this. They will write books about the monumental, catastrophic mistake that Carney just made. And I don't think it was just Carney, like my lower third there. I don't think it's just Canada. Here, let me just show you that so you guys understand what I'm saying. If I put down there, the globalists are playing the clock. That's what's going on. It's not just Carney. Everybody, and I do mean everybody, the judges, the Democrats, Iran, now Canada, everybody is hoping we can win this war because the Democrats will take over. How do I know this? Because they're even staffing their people. They're even putting people in charge of their country's levers who are anti-Trump. They're going to that extreme at this point to stop Trump. I want you to look up. Here's some homework for you. Go look up the name Maya Johnson. Maya Johnson, Canada. Maya Johnson, you can put her name into Google and begin to see who she is. One of these operatives. Right now, Carney brought her into the Prime Minister's office, and he gave her a title that should make you like, yeah, shudder. She is called the Senior Advisor to the United States Stakeholder Strategy. And if you haven't heard the word stakeholder before, you might want to go look up Klaus Schwab. When you hear that term, you understand that's the philosophy. It is the globalists who are in place. They brought the foxes into the hen house. The World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab, all these people are intertwined trying to take down America. It's the globalists right now who are trying to help all these countries stay afloat until Trump is gone. They don't care who gets hurt. They don't care if people go into poverty. They need these things to happen because, well, basically, it is what Trump said it would be. It's the obliteration of the deep state. Scott Bessent couldn't have been any stronger with his words yesterday. You're done. We're going to turn everything off. And if you even so much as do business with them, we're going to turn you off. I referenced the movie last night in one of my tweets. I don't know, it might be too violent for some of you, but there's a movie, great movie called The Usual Suspects. In The Usual Suspects, they're talking about this major international villain named Kaiser Sose. And Kaiser Sose was such a badass that he would, the story goes that when they came for him, they did untoward things to his wife and his family. And he watched them do it. He was chained or handcuffed and they watched him do it. And then when he got his revenge, I mean, they called him the devil incarnate. He just didn't wipe you out. He wiped out you. He wiped out your family. He wiped out your friends. He wiped out people you did business with. He wiped out people who owed you money. He wiped out your pets. And I feel like I'm watching Kaiser Sose happen yesterday when I heard Scott Bessent saying, you do business, we're coming after you. You touch it, we're going to come after you. And then when I hear this about Carney, that they brought in some Klaus Schwab flunky to be a part of this entire thing, that that they want to have this great reset. This woman happens to be an American. She's a Democrat operative. And you're not going to believe this. You can go look it up. Guess who she used to work with? She used to work with Hillary Clinton. She used to work with Joe Biden. And she worked for Kamala Harris. You got hair coming up on your arm right about now? Understand, none of this is by chance. This is 100% intertwined. The deep state is fighting a war, and they're realizing right now they can't win. They've put up all the roadblocks. They've been trying to run out the clock, and they've even seeded Democrat operatives into foreign countries like Canada, who used to work with Obama, Hillary, Biden, and Kamala to tell Mark Carney what to do. Let that sink in. Don't cut any deals with them. I bet you these are the same people who worked with Ukraine and caused whatever happened when Zelensky came to the White House and he blew up his deal. In Iran, don't you dare take a deal. All of this is happening back channel, and I know for a fact that this lady is working with Carney. I wonder how many Democrat operatives are working with Zelensky and the people, the mullahs in Iran. And so he brings her in, he promotes her to the chief operating officer of the Prime Minister's office. That basically puts her in charge of the country. It was a position that never existed before he brought her in, never existed in Canadian history, and now she's being utilized to run against President Trump in terms of the negotiations of this trade war. An American is now negotiating against the President of the United States. You can't make this shit up.
Wrapping up here, Peter, what do the people that are caught in these trade tariffs in Canada do tomorrow?
Well, this is just it. There will be companies that had thought they had dodged this bullet, that 50% tariff on all of their products going into the United States. And the products that are targeted under these 338 tariffs were not just chosen at random. They were chosen very specifically by the Americans to have maximum leverage, to have maximum impact, to try to divide sectors, to try to divide regions, to try to divide provinces. This is going to be felt most in Ontario, Quebec, and BC, where the pushback against a lot of these tariffs has been felt the hardest. And then you have to factor in all the other companies that are dealing with the ongoing 232 tariffs that they had been hoping that tonight they'd maybe get some relief.
You might as well be standing across the border from Canada with bazookas. This has turned into a complete bloodbath. And Canada can't win. They can't even put tourniquets on. There's nothing they can do. And what makes it worse is you got an American who worked with Kamala and Biden and Hillary going after the negotiators that Trump has put up there. The objective here is to destroy Trump. Find a way to get around him, find a way to get through all this stuff, and then hopefully they'll take control in November and try to get this thing back to where the globalists are in control. You know, back in January or February, Carney gave a speech at Davos. He argued what has happened with the world and the world order is not a transition, but a rupture. He actually called it a rupture. Something broke. Something broke when Donald Trump got into office. And the only way you can fix a rupture is to, make it work again. So they're not allowing the disassociation or deassembling of the New World Order or the globalist network. They're trying to fix it very, very hard. They don't like this whatsoever. It's upsetting them. They're using trade as a weapon right now and finance as a leash. And the middle-sized nations of the world have to combine against it. His line was, if we're not at the table, his actual line, if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. Well, understand that. I want to be at the table, but if we're not at the table, like you are not now, your own words are coming back to haunt you. If we're not at the table, we're on the menu. Well, yes, right. Trump has served up a order to eat you. And back then, when he gave that speech, he got a standing ovation in Davos because they want Trump taken down. This is well beyond tariffs. This is well beyond business. This is about the new or old world order. And it's playing out in Canada. It's playing out in Iran. It's playing out in Ukraine. And they're holding with everything they got, praying that this November election goes their way.
Uncharted territory. Thanks. We'll have much more to say about this later. The breaking news is that the tariffs do go on. The new 50% tariffs by the Trump administration will be on at 12:01 Eastern Time in Canada. The talks broke down tonight. There is no deal and no plans for further talks between negotiators from tonight.
Game on. Absolute game on at this point. And so once and again, go look this stuff up yourself and find out who the players are. It's very hard to understand negotiations. It's very hard to understand how all of this globalist stuff works if you don't know who the players are. If you don't know the pieces on the board, you're going to fall victim to it and the propaganda and the media. And I also happen to believe, talking about media, notice what happened today, unfortunately. Dolly Parton died. And since I got into the office, whenever it was she's died, they've talked about nothing else, as if there's not a single other story. I bet you that producers and people in charge are like, run it all day. Don't let the word Trump come out your mouth. Let's just do this. Let's turn into MTV or CMT and never talk about anything for the rest of the day. It's just very weird as I've been looking at the monitor up here, like they're not even talking about anything. It's like the world came to a standstill, but it didn't. And so it is upon you to get your own information and take it from there. Sorry, I told you I had a lot to cover today. I told you. I told you.
Absolutely, always.
I texted SB. He's like, "We're going to cover this." I'm like, "I got too much. I could probably literally be here for, like I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got to figure out which of these stories is going to get bumped because I got a whole bunch more in here."
I could create my own breaking news story too. After you go off, I should just go and just do breaking news. Look at cut 7. You were just talking about Dolly Parton being in the news. Well, look what's going on with the left. Yeah, so now leftists are saying Donald Trump should have passed away, not Dolly Parton. The left is violent. They are the problem. How about neither of them? Why do leftists have sick thoughts like this? They're also counting down to the Charlie Kirk 1-year assassination mark to celebrate. I mean, they're violent. They're crazy, deranged. I mean, I thought they were the party of love, inclusion, and kumbaya.
Oh, it's going to get worse. The closer we get to November, and if I don't know what kind of hell is going to explode tomorrow with this rule, but whatever happens tomorrow with this rule, if they find out they've been checkmated, they're going to lose it. I mean, we forget Charlie. I don't mean forget Charlie Kirk, but Charlie Kirk died on September 10th. Then you got September 11th rolling around.
Oh boy.
And New York, I'm like, oh my gosh. We don't know what the hell is going on.
It's on the swivel, Barry, right? For sure. I mean, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. It's already pretty crazy out there. But I think it's going to intensify a little bit.
Let me see what else you got here. What's this one? ICE. Hold on. Let me go back up. Wait a minute. You got a whole bunch there.
I cuts 1 and 2 were from earlier, and then the 7, 8 is the ones I just added. I removed the ones we already talked about.
Oh, okay. Okay. The one, cut 1. There's one here from, is that today? With Pete Hegseth?
Yeah. It's a 3-minute video, though, so that I could just read it if you don't want to play the whole video.
No, let me go ahead and, hold on. I've got to.
Give you a little break.
I got to open a window to download it. Set it up. What are we talking about?
Yeah, I'll read it. So Pete talked about, he says, President Trump is ending America's dependence on foreign supply chains and our adversaries. Well, that kind of makes sense, right? So he goes, that's why the Department of War, alongside our partners, SBA Gov, are reestablishing the Smaller War Plants Commission. So he's going to talk about it in the video below. It may have some military stuff, but I mean, is that okay? I think
long as nobody's shooting at everybody. You know what's funny? I was looking at some content, and the content I had, obviously, whenever Pete Hegseth is talking, it says Department of War. And then when you look on like C-SPAN, it still says Department of Defense. They won't even recognize Department of War. Okay, here we go.
How about Lake of America?
Readiness runs through our small businesses. It always has. The vehicles, the planes, and even rifles in our warfighters' hands rely on a supply chain of hundreds of specialty producers. A Patriot missile depends on hundreds more. These are the local factories, the shop floors, and the labs forging the arsenal of freedom. And that's why today, the Department of War and the Small Business Administration are establishing the Smaller War Plants Commission in the spirit of the historic Smaller War Plans Corporation, surging capital and expertise to support the innovative entrepreneurs, manufacturers, and workers every day expanding America's defense base. Our message is clear. President Trump is ending the era of dependence on foreign supply chains and our adversaries. This historic long-term commitment will reinforce the industrial depth that stands proudly.
Wait. Is that from today? Is this from today? I can't hear you.
Hold on a second. I believe it was. It was posted on his X account.
So after all this stuff about Carney and detaching from the New World Order and the globalists, he drops this today. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't dreaming.
Behind the strongest military on earth. When we back the businesses who supply our forces, we outbuild, out-innovate, and overwhelm any adversary. We are transforming industrial capability into generational battlefield advantage. And in doing so, we will deter conflict, preserve peace, and ensure that no adversary tests American strength.
Secretary Hegseth has established the mission. America must build what our military needs when it needs it, right here at home. That's where our most innovative, agile businesses come in. The SBA is proud to join the Department of War in establishing the Smaller War Plants Commission. This name reflects the SBA's predecessor agencies formed during World War II and the Korean War that backed the mission-critical small defense manufacturers that armed American forces through victory. That mission continues today as we back the small manufacturers that comprise 70% of the defense industrial base. Today, the SBA oversees nearly $500 billion in a small business portfolio, and we're bringing our proven capital access and investment model together with the Department of War. Our joint mission will supercharge funding to those building our supply chain, tooling up, expanding, innovating, and hiring to deliver capability to the warfighter. The era of offshoring the production of power projection to our adversaries is over. Thanks to President Trump and Secretary Hegseth, the world's strongest military will be backed by the world's most nimble industrial base, offering our warfighters asymmetric advantage and our nation peace through strength.
Thank you and all the small businesses you help empower every single day for making it happen.
Well, it's my honor, and it's an honor to serve alongside you. I'm grateful for all you do for our nation and for our warfighters.
Likewise. All right, let's sign it.
Thank you.
What a great initiative.
All right. So that was like crickets today. I verified 1:46 p.m. He did post that on his X page. I mean, I just happened to come across. I go, this is kind of big news, right?
And it's funny because people may think we coordinated. I don't know what he's going to put up there. He doesn't know what I'm doing. And I'm looking at this as President Trump is ending America's dependence on foreign supply chains and our adversaries. Hey, Mark Carney, stop it.
Bye, Felicia.
Oh my gosh. And all this means is, I mean, it's crazy.
When I get back into the Oval Office, I will totally obliterate the deep state. They will be obliterated.
Oh my.
More winning.
When you see this stuff actually happening, and you're not obfuscated by media lies and panic and doomer lies, and you actually wait a minute. So you're telling Mark Carney to go pound sand, and we got it alone. We don't need you. And now you're telling me that we're going to go ahead and tell everybody else we're not going to depend on foreign supply, i.e., we're not giving you guys any money anymore. You could have just said it. President Trump is ending America sending other countries money for our military. That's pretty much what it says at that point. Wow.
Well, I always joked that Canada was America's hat.
And it's funny. I don't have a problem with Canadians because
I have a lot of great friends.
I like hockey and everything, but damn, your guy is selling you up the road.
Their leadership is very sus.
Let me do one more from you. What's this one?
Which one you got?
What do you got here?
Yeah, look. All right, we got some good. ICE just confirmed a new record high. I mean, it's another win. 50,000 arrests in July 2026 alone. That's a 70% surge from February.
Wow.
The highest single monthly total. I mean, but we still have tens of millions to go, right? This comes as Stephen Miller has recently pushed to surge more and more arrests. This is a win. Keep going. We all voted for mass deportations 24/7, 365.
You know the thing what you just said, we still have millions to go. We don't know. I also think that November is going to be a good referendum on how many of these people are gone. If they're freaking out right now because so many of them can't vote anymore, we don't. There's no number that accurately depicts how many self-deportations have there been. That's another thing, is how many people have gone. And so every time I see things where they say that property has gone down here or go down there, well, that's a simple response of supply and demand. If there's more supply, then because people aren't living here anymore, then the price is going to drop. And I don't understand how these people don't understand. You can't have it both ways. You can't want something cheaper, and then when it gets cheaper, go, oh, look, see, Trump's not doing anything. It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
It goes in line with a lot of those folks still don't know how to add two numbers together or balance a checkbook. I mean, seriously. I mean, I just read earlier, I forgot which state it was, but there was another CDL death on the highway. Another person who had a CDL issued from California killed another some people again. I'm not going to post it, but yeah, it's still happening, even though they're putting the clamps down on it. So there's many more to go, but you know what? It's encouraging to see 50,000 in July. More.
50,000 of these people have been booted out of the country just in July. So why is it that all the panicans and everyone says nothing's happening? I posted something yesterday or this morning with a whole bunch of court cases that got favored in Trump's, favor. And then I saw something that Dan Bongino posted. Did Alex Jones really come out and like offer an olive branch? I had heard something to that effect. It's like, we all need to get along. And like, well, go ahead. Nobody's stopping you.
What?
But
Is the guy, is he almost broke again?
I don't know, but they actually came out and said that. So I don't know what's happening. Like I said, we're getting to the point in the next couple of months, things are going to get really crazy, really absolutely crazy as we move into the midterms and stuff.
All
right. Hold on. Yeah, I don't know. It's just very, very weird.
All right. What's your next story here? Or you got to cut?
Well, we're already at 2 hours. Let me go. Let me finish with a story about Darlene Graham, since it's pertinent to tonight, because she's running for the primary seat. So let me finish with that. All right. Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. We'll get back to you. All right. This is a paid advertisement for Rumble Wallet, as they're sponsoring this portion of the show. All right, chat. Let me just talk to you about what we're going to be doing. If you actually want attention, now there's a clear way to do it. Here's how it works. I am prioritizing Rumble rants through Rumble Wallet. SV is checking it out as soon as they come in. If you send one and he sees it, and we respond, simple as that. And for a limited time, you can start your Rumble Wallet with $10 in US stablecoin for tipping Rumble creators like me by entering my exclusive promo code Barry10 when you sign up now. Now understand, we're going to match every rant that comes through personally. So if you put in $5, it'll end up being $10. That's going to be going to Tunnel to Towers. So let's be honest, regular chat flies by when you use Rumble Wallet. It cuts through all of that. So here's the move. Scan the QR code or use the link in my description and download Rumble Wallet and try it yourself. And don't forget to use the code Barry10 and claim $10 for tipping in US stablecoin. Sending a tip is easy. Open a chat like you're sending a Rumble rant and hit pay with Rumble Wallet. This is basically a VIP lane and a very, very good way to help a cause. So if you want to shout out, if you want to help Tunnel to Towers, you want me to, an SV, to actually look at what you're saying, use Rumble Wallet and claim $10 in US stablecoin with my code Barry10, then send a rant and we'll be watching for them. Restrictions apply. There are a limited number of entries available. Terms and conditions apply. See the description below or visit rumble.com/promo official rules for further details. All right, we'll be right back with Darlene's story.
back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
This is a featured presentation from the Fanfare Newsroom.
This is John Fredericks of the John Fredericks Media Network with a Fanfare Insider Report. Today I'm live in Rock Hill, South Carolina. This is going to be the campaign headquarters for Ralph Norman, running in a special primary today, which a lot riding on it for MAGA and conservatives, against Darlene Graham. As you know, Senator Lindsey Graham's sister, who passed recently. She was appointed by Governor LeMaster to fill out the term. President Trump endorsed Darlene Graham in order to run for a full term in the Senate. But she's got to get past Ralph Norman today. Ralph Norman, one of the founders of the Freedom Caucus, a deficit hawk, true MAGA through and through. Now, Norman's got a record that is very, very demonstrable. I mean, he has been in there for 12 years. You know how he votes. You know what he does. Darlene Graham, not so much. Now, I'm in Rock Hill. I'm covering the Norman campaign. I'm going to make a prediction right now. Ralph Norman is going to win this race. Why do I say that? New poll out. You can see here, a Trafalgar poll has this race essentially tied as a dead heat at 48 apiece. Now it comes down to turnout and intensity. The intensity for Norman and his supporters is much greater than that of Darlene Graham. The other reason I believe Norman is in good shape here, I heard this poll was coming out. I believe Graham had to be up by 5, maybe 6 in order to hold Norman off. And tie does not bode well for her. Also remember that Trafalgar is basically a pro-Trump polling network. Most of the polls they have is going to favor the president a little bit by the questions they ask in the metrics. So I'm going to give Norman the edge here. We're going to be live tonight for Fanfare at 7 p.m. at Norman headquarters here in Rock Hill, South Carolina. A lot riding on this campaign. Truth in advertising. I've endorsed Ralph Norman. I endorsed him early as soon as he got in the runoff. Why? Because I know him and because I know how he's going to vote. And look, I got already burned one time on Amy Coney Barrett, who was turned into the David Souter of our time. Burn me once, I'm done. We need MAGA warriors. Ralph Norman is the guy. I'm predicting victory tonight, but look, voters have to vote. Polls mean nothing, but I'll be there live at 7 p.m. with another update for Fanfare.
National security. All right, so this is I didn't realize this was going to be as controversial of a race as it has turned out to be. And I think it's because of what you're going to see next. Darlene Graham was the darling. She is Lindsey Graham's sister. She was handpicked basically by President Trump to take his seat through the interim, and then now he's endorsed her to go further and to be the senator for South Carolina. But she has shown that she may not have the chops. Again, Ashley had asked me, she goes, what do you think? And I'm going to tell you what I think. I think I don't live in South Carolina, so I don't know. I haven't been to any of her rallies. I have not heard any of her speeches. I haven't heard any Ralph Norman speeches. My whole thing is to sit back and watch and understand that the people in South Carolina, hopefully they can pick the right person. And President Trump endorsed Darlene, so that's got to carry some weight. So in terms of talking to John Fredericks, I'm like, this is wide open. I don't live South Carolina, don't know who would be better. But what I heard here kind of worried me. Listen to this for yourself.
Security question as well. Senator, are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States? If so, why?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States? And if so, why or how?
I'm just going to be honest here. I'm not on national security. I'm not that informed on national security.
Ouch. Ouch. When I heard that, I went, oh, that's how you prepared? I mean, one of the big ones, national, I don't know much about, I have to be honest, don't know. And I went, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Again, I don't live in South Carolina, but the fact that the person running for senator just went in a debate, I don't know much about it. But is it going to hurt her or does she recover here?
So, but I do support the military. My brother was in the Air Force for 33 years, so I will do everything I can to support the military. My dad was in the Army. I'm not a polished politician up here. National security is not my thing, not my...
Stop. How come nobody was there to throw in the towel? Nobody she could look at. Ixnay, what are you saying? National security is not my thing. Oh, no. I don't know. I don't know if she's still going to make it. I mean, like I said, I wish there was somebody here in South Carolina could say, no, she's still good, because let us know.
Area of expertise, but I do support the military.
Congressman, I'll give you a chance to respond, and I'm sure he recognizes that
Taiwan's a definite ally, and we have a trading relationship with them that is beneficial to the United States, chips being one of them, and others. So what the president is doing right is he's enabling Taiwan to defend themselves against China. But it's peace through strength that he's showing with Iran, that China, Russia, others are looking at it, so that they don't want to deal with America, and that's why they haven't attacked Taiwan. If they had some weak Democrat in office like Biden or another Obama, yeah, they'd take it over. But we can't let that happen. We got to take a strong, a peace through strength is working.
That was Ralph Norman. So, somebody from South Carolina did just post. She says, this is from Donald. I voted for Darlene because I have full faith in President Trump, which is a good answer. The fact that President Trump endorsed her may be enough to carry her on. But I don't know if it's been a concerted effort to try and demean her. But, man, she's been getting some really bad press.
With the Republican Party, we pride ourselves on being a meritocracy. Mm-hmm. And if you feel comfortable saying that this was done based on merit, then I'm okay with it. Mm-hmm. But if you don't think this was a meritocracy and she's only in the position because of her late brother, I think that's a different story. So we just got to take that into consideration. You can't say DEI and meritocracy and then have someone that is essentially an empty vessel on some of the biggest issues. But that's all South Carolina. It's always going to be up to the people to decide on what they want.
Yeah, but at the same time, Lawrence, you're on a national newscast, and it's almost like, yeah, but you should have predicated that at the beginning. Hey, I'm not in South Carolina. The South people in South Carolina are going to have to make their decision and just say, here's some news. I'm not putting anything on it. I just know that was a horrible answer, but it was also early. So let's see how she's progressed.
I've gone around this entire state talking to as many people as I possibly can. And you know how many of them brought up Taiwan or national security? Not one. They're talking about the rising cost of health care and affordability. So that.
Now, there's a good answer. I've been around this entire state. I've been here. I've done this. I've done the other thing. And I've been talking to people. You want to know how many people talk about national security in Taiwan? None. You got a point. The people that are going to vote for you may not give a crap about Taiwan. Good answer. Good answer. Who can disagree with that kind of an answer? The people of South Carolina have told me, I heard you. I don't give a crap about Taiwan. Fix here. Okay. Interesting.
That's what's important to me.
Notably, though, Reed, when I asked her later if there was some kind of legislation or specific proposal that she would put forth to deal with the concerns about affordability, she wouldn't give us an answer and only said, we'll see about that when I get there. The thing is, she's already there. She's the appointed senator, and she has been for about 6 weeks.
Yeah, he got a point there. But you can't give that as an answer that was very biased, because she is as new to the Senate as she would be as if she just got elected. She's only been here a couple weeks. She probably didn't even know where the bathrooms are. So I don't expect her to be in there like doing any, writing bills yet.
The critics say I shouldn't run for the Senate. They say I'm not a politician. You know what I say? guilty as charged.
So she obviously has some schooling, some educating. Hey, here's your line. This is what you say when they're like, hey, you're not polished. You're not like the politicians. Okay, that's because I'm not. Okay, you got me on that one. Because I know there was a certain guy from New York City who ran for president who didn't have any knowledge of Taiwan in terms of national security. I don't know, maybe she got something there.
And by the way, President Trump had never served in an elected office before, and I think he's done a damn good job.
I'm assuming a lot has come up on the campaign trail. You probably learned a lot as well.
What's changed is I've been working really hard going around the entire state because it's important to me to hear from the people of South Carolina and what's important to them. So I've worked really hard the past 2 weeks getting all around the state, and I think I've reached pretty much every corner of this state.
Senator, it's been 45 days since your brother passed away, 42 since you began.
Thanks, guys.
Can you reflect on the past few weeks?
Yeah, it's been tough losing my brother. It has, but I'm excited about all the work I look forward to doing, and I'm excited.
She faces a make-or-break GOP runoff in this historic bid to keep her brother's Senate seat. All right, that happening live there in Lexington, South Carolina.
Okay, so now CNN decides that they want to take a shot and feast on her as well. But yeah, she's doing what she has to at this point. She got thrust into something. I don't know if she even intended on doing it as she got put into this role. But I'm watching some of the people in the chat. Somebody said I voted for her, but I regret it already. Interesting.
At MAGA Inc. is spending $827,000. It wouldn't be notable other than the fact that part of the political story thus far has been the huge amount of cash he has been sitting on and not yet spent.
He's really putting his reputation, I'd argue, on the line in a way that he doesn't do often. Yes, he makes endorsements. This goes beyond that. As you mentioned, he was the one to get behind her initially, pushing her to run for Lindsey Graham's seat, and now spending this money in a way that he really hasn't, and more than $800,000. And you're exactly right. It's been a huge story about why are they sitting on all this money. They talk about how they're concerned. I know his political advisors and members of his operation, at least, talk about their concerns ahead of November. Why aren't we seeing more of this money? I can say we know that the president recently greenlit, finally telling his operation to start spending this money, and now we're seeing it in South Carolina. And it is a big race for him. I think, too, partly why this is such a big deal and why there's been so much focus on South Carolina is because already, just this month alone, 6 of the president's endorsed candidates have lost their race.
Only CNN could turn around President Trump's endorsements into a negative. He's like 97-6, but six of them have lost. I think I'd like to have a 97-6 record. These people are insufferable. Now, the only thing I have a problem is because we know President Trump, they got a big war chest. They've got $400 million. Why do you spend all this money? Nobody watches ads. I don't know about you, but if a political ad comes on while I'm watching a show or something, it's blip, I got to go. So I think you could find better ways, pay people, get on the ground, get out there, use social media, get in people's faces, forget these networks.
And so there are questions about the power of his endorsement at a time. And Darlene Graham has really been a huge symbol of that because of the effort he's gone to really try and boost her in this race.
Hello, South Carolina, a very special place that I won every single time by a lot, in fact, by a record. There's a very important special election coming up in your state, and I'm asking you to all get out and vote for an incredible woman and a true champion for the people of South Carolina, Senator Darlene Graham. After the passing of her wonderful brother and my friend, the legendary Senator Lindsey Graham, I asked Darlene to run for the Senate because I know she has what it takes to be an outstanding representative for your state. Darlene has proven to be tough, smart, and strong, even in the few weeks since she became a senator.
All right, so you're hearing President Trump. He recorded this endorsement, glowing endorsement of her. Is this going to be enough to get her over the hump here? Should be. You get the president's endorsement, the odds are 97-6. 97 out of 103 or so of his endorsements have won. So, and the fact that for the rest of us who aren't in South Carolina, this has to carry some weight, I would think. The president of the United States, the head of the party, MAGA, has said, I want her.
With your vote, Darlene will fight tirelessly to defend South Carolina jobs, raise your wages, protect your Second Amendment, keep men out of women's sports, and secure our elections by passing the Save America Act. And Darlene will always vote to defend our borders and keep illegal aliens out of our country. Darlene Graham has my complete and total endorsement, and I have no doubt she will make South Carolina very, very proud. She's a special person, just like her brother was a special person. Go vote for Senator Darlene Graham. You'll be saying in years from now, I'm glad I listened to the president. She's outstanding. Thank you very much.
All right. So he has picked a complete and utter endorsement, a complete endorsement, not a little bit, all in on Darlene Graham. So if I was a betting person, if I was on Kalshi or something, I would probably put some money down on the fact that she's going to win. I just feel it. So I want to cover one more story before we go. It's an interesting story I want to tell you guys about because I had a chance, Ashley set up an interview. And it's kind of a long interview, but it's very interesting that you're going to hear this. President Trump, I showed you yesterday, had put up a whole bunch of pictures about Kim Jong-un, of him walking through different facilities with the North Korean dictator. And so he posted this at 9:30 this morning. I want you to take a look at it. He posted this at 9:30 this morning. Let's dig in. Based on my very good relationship with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, I was not happy with the fact that actually this was yesterday morning, that was this morning. I was not happy with the fact that the United States had long ago agreed to participate in joint military exercises with South Korea. These exercises are not only costly, with much of these costs paid by the United States of America, as usual, but send a signal that is totally inappropriate and hostile to a country that, as long as Donald Trump has been president, has been unthreatening and respectful. Therefore, and based on the fact that it was too late to cancel, I instructed Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to substantially reduce the joint military exercises. While somewhat unrelated, I recently asked the president of South Korea if they would like to join us in the denuclearization of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And they said, no, thanks. Thank you for your attention to this matter. You can see it. It was 9:30 this morning that he posted that. And I thought to myself, why would he be getting chummier at this point with North Korea and getting pissed at South Korea? And so when Ashley, I recorded this, and it's a previously recorded interview, but it's perfect timing for us to go towards the end of the show. I want you to hear this. This is from a dissident, somebody who's in South Korea. Not North Korea, he's in South Korea. Wait till you hear what they're doing in South Korea. It's more of this globalist BS. The news isn't even talking about it. The news is not even going to tell you what's happening. So listen to this.
This is a featured presentation from the Fanfare Newsroom.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, the government ordered all churches to shut down. A sanctuary built for 5,000 was told to hold only 5 people. Pastor Sun Hyun-bo declared, "We will not live like circus bears, obeying every command. We will stand for freedom of worship." His voice echoed across the nation. Eventually, Seguro Church was charged and its doors were forced to close. Yet the congregation gathered on the lawn to worship God. He cried out, "Even if this place is shut, we will worship in the parks, on the beaches, and even on the streets." That day, every major news outlet reported on this scene. The government threatened to permanently close the church, but nationwide, churches' outrage and solidarity rose up. Within just 3 days, the government reversed its decision and worship was once again allowed across the nation. Later came another threat. The anti-discrimination bill, seeking to legalize homosexuality, was about to pass the National Assembly. Pastor Sun Hyun Bo and Seguro Church made a tearful appeal to churches across the nation. The appeal spread swiftly across the nation, and most denominations and churches stood together in response. On October 27, 2024, 1 million Christians filed 20 kilometers of downtown Seoul, praising and worshiping, and another million joined online. Together, they surrounded the National Assembly in prayer. From that day forward, no political force in Korea has dared to revive the bill. And then came the Save Korea movement. The Democratic Party, led by pro-North leftists who still controlled the assembly, attempted impeachment more than 30 times, and in the end, even removed the president. In response, Pastor Sun and others formed a nationwide movement to defend freedom and democracy. In Busan, Daegu, Gwangju, Daejeon, and Seoul. Week after week, hundreds of thousands gathered in each city, crying out for freedom and praying for God to protect the nation and the church. 70% were conservative Christians and 30% were ordinary conservative citizens. But when the president was impeached, the government began open persecution. On the first day of the presidential election at dawn, authorities raided Seguro Church, seizing Pastor Sun's office, study, and even his cell phone. To this day, left-wing media ceaselessly attack Seguro Church and Pastor Sun, making distortion their daily work. From the days of COVID to the impeachment crisis, Pastor Sun and the church faced over 20 indictments, appearing before police, prosecutors, and courts almost every week. Yet Seguro Church is not stopping. Freedom of worship, the order of the family, and the defense of liberty and democracy. For these results, they continue to stand, to this day and always.
Hey everybody, I've got a great, interesting interview for you today. I'm speaking to a man who's over in South Korea, is going to tell us what's actually going on between South Korea and President Trump and some of the problems that we're seeing over there. His name is Chance Son. You're going to want to follow him at Chance Son 1226. This interview is going to be wide open. We're going to talk about a number of topics. I may have to break it into 2 parts, but in any event, let's go ahead and get started. Chance, how are you?
All good. Thank you so much. And it's such an honor to be featured. I appreciate this opportunity and this platform.
Well, I thank you. I mean, I know we got a time difference here. Where are you right now?
I live in Seoul, South Korea, and
Okay.
I just actually got back from the U.S. trip, so I am jet lagged and just woke up like 10 minutes ago.
Well, you look great. So for people who might not know, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are? You just said you live in South Korea, and what got you posting and speaking out?
Yeah, so I'm Chan's son. My last name is Sun, and I'm a son of Pastor Son Hyun Bo of Seguro Church in Busan. And I'm just a regular Christian son of a pastor who never planned to be in the public eye. But when the government started targeting my father and our church for standing for truth and standing on the Bible, I couldn't stay silent. And especially when my father got arrested for the words he spoke from the pulpit, I couldn't really do anything domestically, so I started posting and speaking out because I saw what was happening to religious freedoms in Korea, and I felt a huge responsibility to let the people know that's outside of South Korea.
You know, I would, if somebody told me this happened in North Korea, I could probably understand. But South Korea, it's mind blowing. So your dad, Pastor Son, was put in jail for standing on the Bible, standing up for what the Bible says, refusing to go along with government propaganda and what they wanted him to say. Can you walk us through like what was actually, what it was like, the raids, the lawsuits, the 5 months he spent in prison, and what it felt like for you and your family to go through all that?
Yeah. So to go back a little bit, before the COVID hit, my father was known as the Special Forces that's crazy about evangelism. However, after COVID broke out, my father was the only megachurch pastor that kept the church door open. And after that, my father started a rally to oppose the legislation of comprehensive anti-discrimination law, gathered over 1 million people in center of Seoul. And after that, Save Korea movement, which gathered hundreds of thousands of people in major cities in South Korea to oppose the monarchy system right now. And because of that, my father has been targeted. And on the very first day of presidential election last year, our home and the church were raided. It is actually unprecedented for a church to be raided from the words spoken from the pulpit in Korean history, which is crazy. And that was a raid. And my father has faced so many losses under the Infectious Disease Control and Prevention Act because of COVID and the election law and so on, etc. And from COVID alone, he had to go through a total of 40 hearings and trials.
Wow.
So every week would be being investigated by prosecutors or police officers. And those 40, the last trial just ended 3 months ago at Supreme Court of South Korea. And sadly, we lost all of them, unlike the US.
Wow.
And then, unlike September, last year, September, the arrest warrant on my father got approved by a judge on election law charges, simply for interviewing a candidate during a church service. And
so where is he now? Yeah. Is he in jail?
He was in jail until the end of January, but he's released now with family. There are a lot of God's miracle that happened, but 1 week before my father's sentence trial, Vice President Vance met with the Prime Minister of South Korea, Kim, and then he mentioned my father.
Wow. And
that has pressured the judge and the Korean government to release my father, which was one of the miracles, many miracles that God showed us.
Wow. Now, have they bothered you at all? You've been speaking out lately. Have they come to bother you?
So they are now they're trying to accuse me of insurrection for basically turning. So basically, what I'm doing right now is having the word out, right? And then not only they're accessing our family's phone record, but they're also people that are trying to sue me for the insurrection charge.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
You
no freedom of speech.
Yeah, you mentioned that when a lot of the big churches stopped meeting because of, I guess, the government pressures, your church kept going, your dad kept pushing. What did that cost you guys? And I'm not talking about, simply monetarily, but how did it change your own faith? What was there a cost according to how you guys felt? Did you feel like you were doing the right thing by continuing?
Yeah, there are a lot of costs, a lot of legal trouble, financial pressures, and public criticism. And also, one thing to mention is that this year's New Year's conference, President Lee stated that religious speech intertwined with politics must be punished, and how those punishments must be strict, and gave de facto investigative directive and existing laws, saying that existing laws are inefficient and should be strengthened. So that. This is the context. So they are trying to silence the pastors or churches that are speaking out, even and the Christians. And although we have been going through a lot of costs, it just witnessing my father, and also my father is known as a special forces pastor that was even expelled from the high school for keeping the Lord's Day. And how he was beaten almost to death while he was in special forces to keep the Lord's Day. And just being able to witness everything going on during COVID time when my father was heavily criticized by the government, the whole media, even among some Christians. Why don't you love your neighbors? Why do you have to keep your doors open? There's an online service you can do. But watching my father going through that actually really joyfully kind of shocked me in a lot of ways, and it made me determined to stand for truth no matter the cost, and it changed my life. Because before that, I wouldn't say I was trying to pursue to be disciple of Christ, but after that, it just changed my whole life.
Amazing. So through all this, now your dad is talking to American churches and telling them to wake up and see what's happening. So I guess he's still going to be in somewhat peril. What's the biggest warning about, you and your dad want to give American Christians that hear the story of what you guys have lived through?
Yeah, the biggest warning is this. What happened to Korea, what happened in Korea, what's happening can happen anywhere. And before the COVID struck, me also before my father got arrested, I was living a happy, prosperous corporate life. Getting 6-figure in Korea, which is really high in Korea, but nothing mattered after seeing everything that's happening. So right now, the American churches, Americans are very prosperous, and you guys are living somewhat relative to previous. Relatively, you guys are living a lot more comfortably and all that, but religious freedom and your freedom of speech can erode quickly when the culture and the government shift. So don't wait until pastors are being arrested.
How did it, when I think of South Korea, I think of a much more free country. COVID made it turn this way, or did they seize on it as an opportunity to basically control people?
Yes. And starting from the 80s, the labor union and also the teachers union have been very, their solidarity was so strong to oppose the conservative movement. And they have been educating, they have been shifting the public education as well. So people in Korea, they're in 40s and in their 40s and 50s are basically brainwashed. So they hate America.
No way. Are you serious?
America is evil. Yeah, but the good part is that unlike the U.S., people in the 20s and 30s love America. Most of the 20s and 30s love America, and 70% of them actually oppose the current progressive government.
Huh. So just like what's happening here with the socialists and communists who want to do all kinds of things and tax everybody, there's some new tax that's happening in South Korea. I've heard, is it up to 50% just because you support missionaries overseas? I mean, that seems like it's crazy. It's part of a bigger pattern to impact all the Christian churches in Korea.
Yeah, your own point. Yeah, Korean churches have a long and beautiful history of sending missionaries around the world, and we have missionaries in 171 countries in the world. And we are actually the second most missionary sending country in the world after the US. And actually by per capita, Korea is the first. And suddenly taxing those offerings and mission funds at 10 to 50% feels like another way to squeeze biblical churches that refuse to go along with the current culture and political direction. And I want to mention two other things, and that was amended this year in the cabinet meeting. And also two other things. One is a civil code amendment on paper. However, it's also called the Church Dissolution Act. So it allows government officials to dissolve a religious organization that is intertwined with religious speech, and giving them, without warrant, get to investigate the church and organizations and eventually transfer all the assets and properties to the treasury.
I was going to ask you, like, how do you dissolve the church? You're saying they come in and actually take the church, the building, whatever property, whatever assets, and just do what with it?
Yeah, so it hasn't been legislated yet. However, it has been proposed. And after my father got released in January, my father held a rally on April 1st in front of National Assembly with tens of thousands of people to oppose that legislation. So it has been paused, thankfully. However, practically, I don't know exactly how it's going to look like, but it would be, from my imagination, something like they would come up with all these rationales. This religious organization spoke about this and that, which is supposed to be separated from church, and then have them to not able together, and maybe lock up the church like how they did to Sacred Church, my father's church, during COVID. They literally put a rope around the church and they put locks on the doors, preventing the people to go inside. So probably that could be what it would look like if it does get legislated and practically happen.
Now, the American people, like even myself, we're hearing this about South Korea, and we can't believe that this is what's going on. But you made a post to let everybody know that don't blame the Korean people. It's the government. So how big of I don't know if I want to say a movement, but an uprising is it where the people themselves are not going to sit for this?
Yeah, so most ordinary Koreans still value freedom and alliance with America, but under the current government, the public conversation has shifted. So there's more openness toward North Korea and China from the government side. And however, people in general, especially Christians, of course, we are, if anything, pro-America, not pro-China, pro-North Korea, because we love freedom and we believe Christian foundations of the U.S. and Korea are connected. So, yeah.
Go ahead, finish.
Yeah. So there are a lot of pressures on conservative and Christian voices.
You know, unlike Americans, you actually have a border between a dictatorship country that is still communist. You fought a war between you and your country and North Korea. Do people not remember what that is like? I mean, it seems like they're running downhill to go back to what they fought to get away from. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's a great question. So first, when I was just thinking by myself, I thought it was crazy. Like, why don't you remember? Like, what if we are in North Korea? What if God has put us in just few miles up in the north, and we would have no freedom at all? But looking at the historical context, during the Korean War, it was basically a proxy war between the Russia and China. So they utilized North Korea to attack South Korea, and after just a few months, the communist forces pushed all the way down to the south of Korea, which is Busan, where I was born and my father's church is at. However, because of the U.S., we were liberated. The General MacArthur is like a heroic figure in Korea, and for the anti-American forces, America and conservatives in Korea and Christians are like the worst enemy. So that's why they are pro-China, pro-North Korea. Not in a free unification way, but their way, the communist unification way.
You know, on Liberation Day, the president talked about ending the Korean War and has said South Korea respects the North Korean system and won't try to absorb them. You call that a path toward communism, or communist unification. Why do you see it that way? And how are regular people, especially the younger Koreans, reacting to this?
Yeah, so when a free democracy says it respects the North Korean system, the monarchy and communism and dictatorship, and will not push the absorption, it opens the door to a form of unification that favors the communist side rather than genuine freedom, right? And younger people are some of younger people are attracted to this idea of peace. However, a lot of others are starting to realize the real cost of compromising with the dictatorship. And surprisingly, there are polls in South Korea now that 70% of the young people in their 20s and 30s are opposing the current government because of this. And I think this is one of them.
You've talked many times, I've seen on your X profile, about Chinese spies being near United States bases, you know, and the defense minister now quoting Chairman Mao, and the push to take back wartime control from the United States. How serious do you think the security risks really are right now, if you can say without getting yourself in trouble?
Yeah, I believe the risks are serious. And when you see reports of Chinese activity near American bases and light handling of those cases, and also when you look at the Korean espionage law, and when you look at the precedents of the legal lawsuits, there have been always targeted the North Koreans, not Chinese. So even though they're captured doing all these crazy things near American bases and also the warship making locations, they can't really do anything, and they probably don't do anything. And also moving to reclaim wartime operational control from the U.S. I mean, like thinking of in the U.S. shoes, there has never been a case like this. So they're trying to just move away from the U.S. And let's say the Korean government right now is pro-Chinese, pro-China, and let's say they get the operational control during the wartime from the U.S.
Oh boy!
I mean,
that's a big problem,
right?
Yeah.
It raises real questions about the direction of our national security. And I believe a free South Korea needs a strong alliance with the U.S. and clear eyes about the threats from the North and from China. And just looking at just few decades ago, what if the U.S. didn't liberate us? We would live life like North Korean, how North Koreans are living. No freedom of speech, no freedom to move around, and no freedom of religion. Yeah.
Nobody wants that. And, you know, we're going through our elections here. What is the status of your elections over there? Do you feel like those might be in peril?
The Korean election? Yeah, actually, there was a local election this June. And, of course, the Democrats have won the majority. And also, the funny thing is that over 60% of the National Assembly of Korea, which is combined of the House and the Senate, are controlled by the broader ruling party. So, I mean, they impeached the former conservative president, and they impeached 29 government officials and cabinet members, which is half of the numbers for the whole Korean history. So, it's basically a dictatorship.
Americans aren't hearing this news. They seem completely surprised by what's going on in South Korea, and it's incredible to me just listening to you. You know, we're going through election season right now, and Francesca Hong, I didn't really know. I thought she was Chinese, and we find out she's a Korean-American Democrat socialist. She just lost her race, thankfully. You called it a disgrace on X that a Korean-American would embrace socialism after what South Korea went through. Can you kind of unpack that for us? Why does it hit you so hard? And what do you want other Korean Americans to remember so they don't fall into the same hypnosis that Francesca Hong went into?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, exactly. So it hits really hard because our parents and our ancestors suffered under communism and dictatorship. And South Korea became free and prosperous by rejecting that very democratic socialism and embracing freedom. And when a Korean American promotes democratic socialism, it feels like forgetting the history and even forgetting what's happening in North Korea. And that just actually got me really angry because some Korean Americans and Koreans, ignorant Koreans, would say, oh, she's Korean American, so she should be voted, she should be elected. And I really want the other Korean Americans to remember the price that was paid for liberty and not to romanticize the systems that have brought so much suffering.
Yeah, absolutely. See, President Trump went off on South Korea. I guess people would say he went off on South Korea a couple of days ago for saying no to providing any help with Iran. While we still have 40,000 troops out there, you know, destroyers, everything out there, protecting South Koreans from Kim Jong-un and North Korea. What was your first reaction when you heard that, number one, South Korea said, no, we're not going to help, and two, when you heard about how President Trump reacted?
Yeah, so my first reaction reading that Truth post, I felt like he was pointing out the real imbalance. And he knows that. So the Democrats in Korea, so 1/3 of the So 1/3 of the National Assembly members from the Democratic Party have actually signed a statement criticizing the U.S. government for the operation in Venezuela, capturing the Maduro, and heavily criticizing the Operation Fury. And of course, America would know that what's happening in South Korea, and also how, the Democrats are trying to demonize U.S. and President Trump, and also the fact is that America has carried a heavy burden for decades protecting South Korea. I also understand that understand South Korea as a very strategically very important country for America as well. However, so I believe it's reasonable for an American president to expect some seriousness from an ally.
Why do you think they didn't support President Trump in America against Iran?
So funny thing is that when I follow up with news in Korea and what the Democrats are saying and politicians are releasing the statements and press releases, and also the U.S., it's very intertwined. It's very, very similar. So whatever the leftists are saying, the progressive people are saying, the liberals are saying in America, demonizing President Trump, and of course demonizing the War Department and all that. It's very similar in Korea, and I think they have the same agenda.
Wow.
Basically, turn over their country to China.
So it's China. You think China is the reason behind all this?
I believe so, because just for one example, we can't really do anything by law espionage to Chinese spies, and also there was even a Chinese Chinese spy of an American mayor in California.
Wow!
And I think these cases are waking up a lot of people. And also one example is one of the major media company in Korea, JTBC. So 1/3 of the shares were bought out from the private equity and Chinese company. There is a Chinese company called Tencent that holds the direct shares of 10% of the company. And this is so Chinese can buy out companies, buy out shares, properties, lands, and all those real estate in Korea, while we can't do anything like that in China, right?
No chance.
Yeah. So what do you expect from these grounds?
Now, we got a lot of people here in the media, the American media, are saying that Trump is abandoning South Korea. You've pushed back really hard on that. Can you explain the difference? What do you think he's actually doing? And how should both Koreans and Americans understand the play here?
Yes. So I'm not President Trump, so I don't know exactly what his intentions are, but I'm pretty sure I don't see it as abandoning South Korea. I mean, he would never. And I see it as demanding that the alliance be meant to be mutual and based on shared values and shared responsibility. Because a healthy alliance requires both sides to take the threats seriously, right? And I think there are two reasons. One is that just how we just discussed. One is that he doesn't particularly like the current progressive government and also the Democrats that are controlling the judicial, legislative, and executive branch right now. And also the second thing is that denuclearization. And I think he's trying to manage Kim wisely. Because under Biden, North Korea launched more than 4 times as many ICBM missiles that are capable of targeting the U.S. as it did during Trump's first term. And from the South Korea perspective, during that period under Biden, they launched more than 3 times of missiles that crossed that was near the South Korea. And also, there's one time there was a ballistic missile that crossed the northern limit line for the first time since the division of the Korean Peninsula under Biden, landing just 35 miles from Sokcho, one of the largest cities on the East Coast, which is crazy. And do you want to guess how many ICBM missile that can target the U.S. has been launched during the Trump's second term?
None.
None. Yeah. So maybe people would think like, oh, President Trump is trying to be communist, trying to press Kim Jong-un. But in reality, when you look at the numbers and practically, not really. So please do your research and don't look at the media headlines and believe that. President Trump is smart. And I just can't believe there are people believing President Trump is dumb. And how can you build a real estate empire, companies, and run the most powerful country in the world? And stupid.
If people
Sorry,
if
my language,
if people have watched what's going on, they have to realize that this guy is a very strong poker player. He's not going to let you know what's coming and until it actually already happened. So if things keep going the way they are, and pressure on churches, the tilt toward China, softer line on North Korea, what are you most worried about for South Korea and, your family and friends? And what still gives you hope? I know it gives you hope. Let me take that away.
Yeah.
What do you first of all, what do you see happening? I know it gives you hope.
Yeah. So firstly, I'm most worried about worried that religious freedom and national security will continue to erode, and that this will be contagious, not only in South Korea, but they can use the same tactic in other countries as well. And so that the next generation will grow up without a clear understanding of what freedom costs and what freedom is. And also, I'm really worried. So personally, I believe that my biggest goal and my biggest calling is to share the gospel. Yeah. And if there's no religious freedom, we won't be able to.
Right.
Because we have to obey God only, not man or the government.
I don't think enough Americans understand it. I think when I see these people voting for socialism, they don't understand the wolf behind the sheep. And if they got into power, so much of our way of life would just go away. And I don't understand how they don't get that. All they've got to do is look around the world and see that Castro took away Christianity right away. So what's the one thing you most want Americans, politicians, the church to understand about South Korea right now and how we can actually help as Americans?
I really ask to please understand that South Korea is at a critical moment, and the alliance and religious freedom are both under pressure. And the most practical help is prayer, of course, because I believe, you said hope, but I do have hope because I know God has already won the battles.
Exactly.
So practical help is prayers and public attention and continual support from the U.S. and Korea alliance based on shared values and freedom. When Americans speak up for religious liberty here, it makes a real difference, and it encourages so many people realizing, oh, maybe this was right. Maybe speaking out as Christians was right. So,
and it's one of the things that we know the American media is not going to tell the truth. So when Ashley said, would you like to talk to Chance? I'm like, absolutely, because we are the only people who are going to get this word out. The media is not going to do it.
Yes.
Did you have a chance to go to the White House or your dad? I thought I heard something that you guys got to go to the White House.
Yeah, so last week on Friday, we were invited and we got to meet the President Trump.
Wow.
And also the Pastor Paula White and Jenny Korn. They're amazing. And so this is one of the miracles that God showed us. There are over 20, I believe, since my father's arrest that I would like to share later. But so my father's church is one of the biggest from the south part of South Korea. However, we don't have anything. So we don't have anything to our name. And my father, so one of the reasons, so the rationale of the arrest warrant for my father under election law violation, it was risk of flight. And what the prosecutor said and what the judge agreed was, because of my father doesn't own anything, a house or the car under his name, so he might flee to another country. So risk of flight was the very reason my father was arrested. And so the reason I say this is we don't have anything. we're not the most powerful, we're not the most good looking or the smartest people, but God uses the faithful servant. And also I believe so. Meeting President Trump was a big deal for me personally because it was so surreal to meet him in person. But I felt like what God was telling me was, even the most powerful person in the world, if I do a little flick, I can make you to talk to him or have conversation with him and have him understand what's happening in Korea. So imagine what I can do as God, who created this world. So it was really comforting, and I believe my family won't be like, oh, we met the President Trump, so everything's gonna be solved and we can solve everything. No, it's just one of the small things that God showed us, and the upcoming battles are even bigger. So
how did the meeting come about? You're over in South Korea, and how did it even happen? Did somebody reach out to the family?
So the thing is that after my father was arrested, and not because he bribed or he took money from whatever, or just because the words from the pulpit, my family, my brother, my sister, and I were advocating for my father, and it made big headlines across the media in Korea as well when my father was arrested. And because I had to do something, I created an X account and I uploaded this video of 3 minutes. And one morning I woke up with thousands of notifications. It went viral. And apparently it reached out to a lot of important people in the States. And I was invited to a CPAC event and to talk with the State Department officials and White House as well. And even the State Department Assistant Secretary Riley Barnes, he's amazing. When he came to Korea in June with his team, he visited Sacred Church, and we had a meeting as well. He wanted to hear about what's happening in South Korea, and it has hugely encouraged a lot of people. And also, these are some of the miracles that I mentioned earlier that God showed us, and just being able to connect and also encourage a lot of Christians in Korea, it's a big thing.
Awesome, very awesome. Chance, I know you had to go, taking up a lot of your time here. One question I want to ask you, you're not prepared for this, obviously, but if people want to help you and your dad, how can we help?
Yeah, so practically prayer, attention, and also, so as of right now, we are pressured under a lot of things, including financial as well. However, as of right now, we are just trying to depend on God first.
All right.
So we don't have anything to collect anything. So yeah.
Wow, I wish we could.
We want to show our motive.
Yeah, I know. I wish you'd have a GoFundMe or something where people can get behind you and help you. But the government would probably take it away from you, probably too. So maybe we could figure out a way to get something to your dad's church, or I just feel like we're compelled to help people who are trying their best to make something happen, especially godly people. So let me know, let Ashley know if there's a way we can back channel things. We don't have to say it on air or anything. I'd love to help out. Just let me know.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Have a great evening. Yeah, so when I got a chance to talk to him, I couldn't believe he wasn't looking for an offering or anything. He just wants people to pray for him. So please pray for him, his family, and many people who are in his dad's church. And it was so cool that he got to go meet the president. He was in the Oval Office. I'm like, damn, bro, I haven't even gotten into the Oval Office. I got to the White House, but not into the Oval Office. So that's fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed it. Keep him in your prayers. Keep him in mind. Keep the people in South Korea in mind. And now you got a little bit of insight as to what's actually happening. That South Korea, after going through a war with North Korea, is becoming North Korea in essence. They are reaching out to the Democrats and the socialists, and it's just getting crazy. I mean, crazy upside down world we're having here right now. Crazy upside down world. All right, let me just bring SV on. He's got a couple of things. What do you got, man?
Hey there. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to one of our regular viewers on Rumble. His or her name, they haven't said which, is Costa Rica expat. He donated $5 and he said, "Come on, everyone, TNT is a great cause." Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much for that. I think we have today's the 25th, so I have a week left to get that together so we can help the people up there. Unless there's something pressing news that has to get covered, I want to hold the rest of the news, SB, till tomorrow, unless you got something like that we got to hear.
Well, really short. I'm not going to show it, but the Chicago Sky has just banned Enes Kanter Freedom from their arena. The team stated he has demonstrated to us that he is a potential threat. How is protecting women and purchasing $1,000 seats a threat?
The WNBA can't get out of their own way. They just cannot get out of it.
It's just going to get worse
just
and worse.
Let it go. Do something. We're in our third week yet. You still can't even define what a woman is, and now you're telling a guy who's supposed to be a draft pick he's not welcome in the arena when it was the chick that went after him.
Yeah.
Make
it's
make
crazy
sense.
more cray. Yeah.
Make it make sense.
Anyway, long show today, Perry. That was a great interview. Everybody loved it. They asked to clip it if you can clip that. Well spoken. I enjoyed it.
That young man has gone through a lot watching his father locked up. And the parallels of what they went through, we can almost see that's what's coming our way for sure if we don't get these people out of here. 100%. So thank you very much for your time
You're
today.
Welcome. See you all tomorrow.
All right, everybody, let me do super chats and then we can call it a day. I think SV is going to go play some poker, he said. So let's see what we got here. Is it lined up correctly? Yeah, we're lined up. All right, Barry, like you say, we were watching a movie and Trump is directing it. I truly feel that. I mean, it just seems at this point that too many things don't make any sense whatsoever, which then would make them make sense. Chiosop, oh, how will illegals vote if they got deported? Yeah. Andrew, blue states that cheat at 2 a.m. or 2 weeks later. Have they ever confirmed that the votes in California yet? Don't know. Chiosop Devons will claim they used a carrier service to get the votes at one big truck shows up the voting station with no creases on the ballots. Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do that. DFE, there was a rash of mailbox bombs in the 90s. Mailboxes were then removed not long after. Good point. Linnell, they pulled the collection boxes because of theft. I have one on my route. One. So where are they getting all? I don't know what they're doing. Mr. Mike, liberal media is the virus. I definitely won't be the last, and I'm definitely not the first to say this. Keep going, Barry. Love your show. Thank you very much. Chiosop had him focused on SAVE Act as he set up Plan B, Plan C, and Plan D. That's what it's appearing at this point. Mr. Mike, Trump be like, sorry, Miss Jackson, I am for real. Oh, gosh. Katanji. Macon Blankenship. Trump ordered flags at half staff in honor of Dolly Parton passing. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. They're talking about it right now. Jennifer, my husband's grandmother lived in a one-room chicken house with 12 siblings. Not sure about running water and electricity. She was born in 33 and is still alive at 93 years old. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. People up in the mountains, they know how to survive. Country boy will survive. Born on the 4th, we MAGA patriots have good reason to root for President Trump. He's a commander-in-chief, while the others were commanders in grief. Thanks, kudos to you and your team. Thank you. Angela, most blue collection boxes are at the post office. She's been a clerk for 23 years. Thanks, Barry, for all the hard work you do. I don't always chat, but I always watch your show. Thank you. I also love that you brought SV on. He'll crack me up. Thank you very much. He's good. I'm looking at the initial results in South Carolina, only 1% in, and Norman is ahead by 3 points. So not much there. Germany, Canada, little country of 40 million who we protect should focus on having the largest self-effing rate in the world, also charging us 300% tariffs on lots of things. Yep, not at all balanced. Maximus, hello, brother. How are you? Barry, basically all these other countries are suffering sticker shock. They became comfortable running roughshod over us. They will get over that. They don't want to pick a fight with the Hulk. Yep. They're realizing right now that the ATM is closed. And I can't believe the Democrats would turn it back on in a heartbeat. Stephen Anderson, wait till the U.S. shuts off our pipelines to Canada. Fume drummer, I think your take on the USPS role in elections is off mark. The concept is that they won't deliver the mail-in ballots to ineligible voters in the first place. Nothing to do with what is placed in the street side mailboxes. Well, there's a little aspect to that. The part that you're missing is standing. That's what you're missing. It's not just what goes in the mailbox, where is the mailbox. The Democrats are saying that the president, or actually the federal government, has no standing in elections. And what my point is by using the mailbox, however they use it, however they use the U.S. Postal Service, they are involving the federal government, which gives the federal government the ability to do what they do. So you didn't really understand what I was saying, but thanks anyway. G-Money, John Kerry is one of the treasonous involved. Cannot believe he's still walking the streets. Exactly. Andrew, here's $5 for 4 more hours of Barry chat. Let's start a trend. $5 to keep Barry out for 4 more hours. You have to feed me intravenously because I'm ready to eat this mic right now. But thank you. Macon Blankenship, all those who are working against America, Trump has already beaten them down. He'll have no problem doing it again. And we, the people, have to do is stand in the armor of the saints and pray. Agreed. Nicholas, Barry, just saw the Fanfare podcast showing up on my internet radios. Thank you. Now the word is which radio? Would that be not Sirius? We're not on Sirius yet. Would love to get there. Chiosop, can we still import slingshots from Canada? Ed Sloan, 1.9 million self-deportations since January of 2025. That's a good chunk. That's a good start. Nicholas, we'll email you with the internet radio info that has Fanfare. Thank you very much. Would love to see that. Susan Wonder, I sent you a package to your real estate address. It's some songs I wrote and put on a CD and a thumb drive. Susan, I greatly appreciate it. However, it's very, very, well, it doesn't happen. If we get something that goes into a computer, I can't use it. I can't, we don't click on links in email, and we don't insert anything into the computers. That's just from safety. I appreciate the initiative, but I can't put something into the computer. Let's see here. Donna, help us, Trump. We in Canada need you. Where I live, we are paying almost $7 a gallon for gas. Ooh, ouch. Wow. Cheers up. Ben's rally around their candidates, no matter how useless they are. Dems, I think he meant. Republicans want their candidate to be absolutely perfect or they sell out. Good point. Lupe, where was that? Okay, wow, really a timeout after making a comment about audio problem? If you got a timeout, Lupe, it's because there were some people complaining who were trolls. And everything, Ashley was listening, SB was listening, they didn't have a problem. So that's probably why you got stuck. Izzy MP, I work for USPS. MAGA is in, but the union is a big problem. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Julian, PSA for everyone, revisit Trump's past speeches, interviews, and podcasts, particularly Trump on Rogan in 2024. He hasn't swerved off course at all. Good point. Tania, great interview. God bless Chance and his family and his father, too. Andrew, Barry, I'll reach out to Carl DeMayo here in California. Yeah, I'd love to talk to him. And Mary, thanks for the interview with Chance. I had heard South Korea was becoming North Korea. Sad America fought and died to keep South Korea free, and they are just basically giving it back. It's absolutely nuts. All right, everybody. I will talk to you guys tomorrow, and we will hopefully have a whole bunch more stories.